Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this stream, a topical stream. This week, the British TV station, ITV, pulled the plug on one of its most popular daytime TV shows, The Jeremy Kyle Show, after one of its guests took his own life, post appearing on the show. For those unfamiliar with The Jeremy Kyle Show, it was something akin to Jerry Springer, but with a lot less comedy value, and the focus being on conflict and supposed resolution of conflict. Using polygraphs and stirring debate, the host sought to, or at least appeared to try to solve the guests' problems. The most common theme was cheating partners. However, the show also covered other topics such as in-family thieves and drug addiction, among other things. After a Channel 4 Dispatches programme aired last night uncovering some of the more illicit practices the show would use to create conflict among its guests, making for more dramatic television. It also covered the mental health problems that other people have faced after appearing on reality shows such as Love Island and Big Brother. Today we discuss, is it ever okay to create conflict and do what could be described as bear baiting, simply for entertainment value? And why as a society do we take pleasure in watching the pitfalls and lowest moments of other people? With the new season of Black Mirror just a few days away, there probably couldn't be a better time to talk about why we seem to be living in an Orwellian dystopian nightmare. And speaking of nightmares, I'd like to introduce every teenage girl's mother's nightmare, and a man that some would be embarrassed to call a friend, but not me. Hi, Andrew.
Teenage is just too old. Not teenage is.
Well,
thank you for that.
I was trying to keep it a bit more serious this evening, so I didn't want to go too disgusting on your intro today.
Well, me and you have got very dark senses of humour, haven't we? So we like to take it as far as we can. But that was a very well worded introduction.
Well, thank you. I can be eloquent at times. So you watched Dispatches, and I've just watched it. I know you weren't too keen on streaming because you're a bit tired this evening, but thanks for joining me. But I think it's good to do it while it's kind of fresh in our minds.
Well, ordinarily I'd have just gone to bed because I'm very tired, but I have quite strong views on this as well. Not specifically as one way as yours, but it brings up some very interesting themes. I'd just like to. Most of the people that listen to us are from the US. There was an American version of Jeremy Kyle, but like you said in the introduction, it's just basically it's the same as Jerry Springer for nobody that's familiar with it. But he's a lot more unpleasant, or he comes across a lot more unpleasant and egotistical than Springer. Springer seemed to genuinely have a caring side of him. He admitted a lot of it was fake, but he didn't come across as being a complete twat. Whereas Jeremy Kyle does rub a lot of people up the wrong way. If anybody's listening to this and isn't familiar with him, I'd just maybe YouTube a couple of his greatest moments. But basically, I mean, I don't want to steal your fire, Adam, but he kind of, most of the people, if not 99% of the people that are guests on his show are from very poor backgrounds in England. It's like sort of the working class, but not only the working class, because that's what I am. It's people that there's a new subculture, not a subculture. There's a new class in England. It used to be working class, middle class, and upper class. Yeah. Now there's the benefit class, then the working class. It's the benefit class that it's people that have got no aspirations whatsoever. You could say the most vulnerable members of society, couldn't you?
Well, I think to say that they haven't got aspirations may be making a judgment that's unfair. I don't think everyone that was a guest on there is that. I mean, there was a lot of. I mean, it was the majority of people who appeared on the show tended to be on benefits or unemployed and not working.
So no, I don't mean, obviously that'd be ridiculous to say that nobody that appeared on the show had any aspirations, but as a general rule, the ones that got berated the most were those that, for whatever reason, were kind of at the lowest point in maybe their lives, and not coming from a good background and might be perceived as being vulnerable.
Well, the thing the Dispatches kind of revealed, and obviously you can't take it as gospel completely. You don't know, because again, it could be Channel 4 to an extent, sort of villainising a competitor's station's show. But like they said that everything was possibly done prior to the guests appearing on the show to make it as conflictual as possible. I don't know in regard, like they mentioned about how people were given alcohol and in some cases given drugs as well. Well, weed. They didn't, not real drugs, but they mentioned like people were smoking weed and the producers were doing a lot to appease them. But also like they would be kept separated from their partners and the people that they had to face. And one thing I found very interesting was the thing that the producers were taught, which was the talking up as building a rapport with these people and then using sort of that rapport to wind them up before their appearance so that they would be at their most aggressive when they went on the show.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Did we? My tiredness is decreasing my memory efficiency even lower than it already is. But have we mentioned the fact that somebody died from this?
Yeah, well, I mentioned it in the intro and it's in the description as well. And I think we should also point out it's not just the Jeremy Kyle show that this has happened from. I've never watched an episode of Love Island, but they did mention during the Dispatches program that two guests, after appearing on Love Island, um, both committed suicide. Again, another sort of reality show, and they also mentioned going back to the whole Jade.
Sorry, can I just interject there? I like that word because it sounds less rude, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
but it's still
But
rude. So go on.
well, it's not rude, is it? I said, may I
Well, you
interject?
cut me off mid-sentence, so just go on.
Well, go on. Sorry.
They also mentioned the Jade Goody and Shilpa Shetty argument during Big Brother. So that's all I had to say. I'd like four more words.
Oh well, thank you for that. Um, it's interesting that you mentioned the Love Island thing because when I was talking about people from the lower end of the spectrum, and I was trying to put it as nicely as possible, you've got people from a higher end of the spectrum there in the Love Island situation. So you've got people that are very attractive, maybe talented. One of the guys that killed himself was like a professional, semi-professional footballer, very good-looking guy. Would seem to have the world at his feet, and he killed himself. But yet you had somebody from totally the other end of the spectrum,
Well,
and he
it's
killed himself. So it highlights how much pressure that it puts people under.
it's putting everyone in a fishbowl though for us to watch and take entertainment with them, and this is why I mentioned Lorne in the title, because and I must admit I watched Jeremy Kyle show not avidly, but it was one of those shows a bit like why I like listening to Lorne. It's like we always used to say, you could listen to Lorne and be like, no matter how bad your life's going, at least I'm not Lorne Armstrong. However, it was the same for me with Jeremy Kyle. I would watch those shows and I'd be like, well, at least I'm not one of these people.
Yeah, and it's not, and I don't think, I think everybody's done that at some stage. It's part of the human condition, but it isn't a healthy way to live. It's not. It's good to have perspective and make you grateful for the things that you've got. And I mention this in a lot of my lawn videos, and I think it's worth repeating. If you need to watch shows like that on a regular basis to make yourself feel better, you've got deficiencies there that you need to look at. Maybe not deficiencies, but
I
you
think
can't. Sorry.
I think that's a little hypocritical though, because you take a huge interest in Lorne, and is it not for the same reasons that people would watch the Jeremy Kyle show?
Well, I explore this in detail in my videos and ask that question myself and analyze my own position and say, what the reason am I making these videos? Why am I interested in lawn? Does it make me so? I don't. There is a part of it that does. There is a little part of it that used to, when I first started looking at it, there was a part of it that did make me feel better about myself. But then I realised as I'm getting wiser and I'm starting to become more self-aware that in order to doing that on a regular basis, using another person for whatever means to make you feel better isn't a wise way to live, and ultimately it's self-defeating, and it will get you nowhere in life. And it's about, you're here to grow as people, and you're certainly not going to be growing by watching Jeremy Kyle every day and laughing at those people, are you?
No, you're not. But it's again, you're kind of. I suppose it comes back to when we were talking about porn the other day. Like you're separated from it, aren't you? You're watching something that you're not really familiar with. I mean, I don't really know people. I'm definitely very middle class, and although personally things haven't been great recently, I've never suffered great poverty of any kind. I mean, I lived in my car for a little while. I've made a video about that a while back, but even then I was still holding down a job. Um, But I think there was something the guy said on the dispatches that I thought was a really great thing to say. So when did discussion become aggression? When did we stop just talking about our problems and start being aggressive about them? And I think it is reflected within society now. They're less open to just talking about disagreements or conflicts and looking for resolutions, whereas aggression it makes for good entertainment, but it's sad that that's the society that we live in now.
It's a reflection on the human condition as a whole, and I don't think it's fair to. Although Jeremy Kyle has got a lot of responsibility for it because it is mainly his ego show, and it's his show, and he likes to say his name very often. But also, it's not fair to just point at him because I I went watching that show twice. Would you believe?
Right.
Once with some friends about 12 years ago, and another with an ex girlfriend because I bought her tickets for a birthday. We used to watch that show, and I look back and I think, what the fuck were you thinking? Why was I interested in that show? And it's like you said that I'm many things, but I'm not a liar. And I will admit, I used to watch it because it made me feel better about myself.
Oh, when I was working as a flight attendant, I used to work like hours, like really strange hours. Some nights I would get home at 4 in the morning, so my evening would be from like 5 a.m. until 9 a.m. or 9:30, or and I think Jeremy Kyle show used to be on from like 9 till 10:30 a.m. was the new episodes, and then later because they used to show it like all day long on ITV during the
Yeah,
daytime,
there's been
didn't they?
3,000 episodes, would you believe?
Yeah, and so I mean, I got to the point where I was watching it so often because it was like that was my evening. So I would crack open a couple of beers and then I would go to sleep at like 10 a.m. if I was working like the night flights. And one day, like literally, I went to TK Maxx or whatever as soon as it opened and bought myself a tracksuit and a six-pack of beer and sat and watched it. It was like, yeah, I'm properly getting into Jeremy Kyle now. I'm wearing the clothes the guests wear on it and stuff. Like that's how much of a fan I suppose I was, even though I don't have much time for him and his personality. It was entertaining,
It
but
was entertaining. It still is. You can still watch some of it and laugh, and there is something in it, but it. I don't think it's healthy.
no, it's not healthy, and it made me actually feel quite guilty. Um, when they were talking about the things on dispatches, the fact that I've taken, perhaps pleasure might be the wrong word, but certainly entertainment from these people whose kind of mental health has been put at risk by appearing on this show. The things they said during that program were quite odd, like the fact that the backstage is a maze, so even when people want to walk out, they can't find their way out, and this sort of thing. It seemed like there was a lot of kind of shady business going on behind the scenes with that show. And while you say you can't put it all on Jeremy, and he's the face of the show. And just to answer your question, Carol, this is Jeremy Kyle on the screen. Um, but he's the face of the show, so I mean, he's the one that has to take responsibility to an extent.
I think it's a bit of karma, really, because one thing I noticed when I went watching it, and it just sort of realised how naive I was. I've quickly realised that he doesn't give a flying fuck about those people on that show. I
Hmm.
remember he was at the side of the stage and he kept talking to one of his assistants. Said, "Right, how many mistakes have I made? 3." And then he put this bit of a bravado walk on. It's all about him and his ego and him doing the show. And it's like he doesn't care. It's quite. He makes it appear like he cares about the people that he's talking to, like he wants to do good. He doesn't. Yeah, I don't
No.
think he gives it a flying
Oh,
fuck.
I'm
It's
sure.
all about him.
I'm sure after they leave the show, he doesn't give them a second thought, and he's a bit himself of a hypocrite because he's not been, a saint throughout his life, and a few people have mentioned it when the guests have come on, and they've been like, "Well, you cheated on your wife, Jeremy, so who are you to sit there and tell me that what I did is so wrong?" And whenever they do that, he flips out. He's like, "How dare you bring that up?" And there's a very funny edit. I'm not sure if it's by a guy called Cassette Boy or not. I think if you type in Cassette Boy Jeremy Kyle, you'll find it. It is Cassette Boy. Cassette Boy does these like really funny edits. He's done like The Apprentice and things like that. But he's done one of Jeremy Kyle. But it's almost true. It's like the beginning of it. It's just him going, "The Jeremy Kyle Show. This is my show. This is my show. Whose name's up there? This is the Jeremy Kyle Show." And he sort of says things like that in almost every episode. So you can tell he's got a huge ego. I suppose if you made 3,000 shows, you're going to grow an ego with each thing. But he's not, he's unlike Springer, who had kind of a warm and inviting personality. And it's been a long time since I've watched Jerry Springer, but I did used to enjoy it. But I think, like, I don't know if it was true, but it came across like he actually cared. And some of his shows, they were a lot more light-hearted and tongue-in-cheek, like the one where he just had the nudists on there and things like that. Whereas with the Jeremy Kyle show, it's always about, oh, you've cheated on me, or have you stolen money from my house to take drugs, and things like that. So it was always like the most sort of conflictual things you could get, and always using sort of the people who have perhaps, to put it, I'm not sure how to put it, but perhaps the hardest time in society.
That's a great way of putting it. Because it's true. Everybody has a different journey for whatever reason. We don't know what that's going to be, what that is, but some people have a very difficult life. They've been dealt a bad hand. Um, but the thing is, like I said, let's not go too hard at Jeremy Kyle. I know I've made some quite unpleasant comments about him, but it's an overall society. As a society, we have to take responsibility for it, because there were millions of people watched that show. I'm one of them.
Yeah,
You're one of them.
yeah.
We can't pin it all on one guy. What does it say about us
No.
as a culture and a species? We like. It's nothing new. It's a very good comparison to the Lawn scenario, in that we like seeing a guy's demise. With Lawn, it's a bit different because of what he tried to do. But obviously, there's links with the ongoing trolling. I mean, I don't know what's happening at the minute, but that the guy never gets left alone.
Well, I'd like to come back to the parallel to Lawn in a moment, because I do have something to say on that. However, the Jeremy Kyle show wouldn't have existed without something like Big Brother. And then you go back and you think about the original book, 1984, by George Orwell, and it was kind of a warning to society. But instead of going, shit, that's what we're becoming, we're like, let's make a TV show out of that. And that was kind of like the first reality show that's led to all of these reality shows, where it does seem, and of course neither of us work in the media industry, but it does seem as if
You're a social media
I am a
influencer, aren't you?
social media influencer, but
That's right.
that's the social media industry, not the media industry. But I don't know how these TV things work. And they said during the Dispatches program, that girl who'd been on Love Island, she said, like, there's a hole in the wall that would talk to you and say, oh, you've said something dramatic, so I want you to say it again and louder because the camera didn't pick it up. Sort of controlling these people and pushing them for more conflict and that sort of thing. I mean, and you look at going. I used to watch. I haven't watched it in many years, but I used to watch Big Brother, and some of like what they would call the tests were almost designed to sort of cause conflict between people. Like, one person would win something and then they would have a choice as whether to share or not, or keep it for themselves, or they would be denied like anything nice for a week and stuff like that, which is only going to sort of make you more temperamental and make for more entertaining television, of course, but it's not really fair on the people who are going through it. Like, that book 1984 should have been a warning to people. It shouldn't have been like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, let's start doing that to people. This is why I also mentioned Black Mirror, because I think that show it shows us what we are becoming, and just how technology can be affecting us, and not just technology but media and that sort of thing. But to come back to the Lawn parallel, because I don't know if everyone's familiar with what bear baiting is, but it's like and I hope I can kind of describe this correctly, but it's like to take someone's sort of, maybe not biggest fears, but things that wind them up the most. Let's say, for example, I know Andy hates hearing people eating, so if I purposely started eating to wind him up, I would be bear baiting, because I would be trying to get a reaction out of him. And for example, you look at the Ramona saga with Lorne, and obviously Lorne's got a small penis. I don't know if he realizes he has a small penis, but so they introduce a character with a massive
His penis is small. Fucking hell, I'm in trouble then.
Well, yeah, I wasn't going to say anything. That makes it sound like I've seen it anyway.
Of course you have.
But yeah, for example, it's like that to an extent it could be described as bear baiting. Now, whether it's justified or not due to Lorne's previous actions, I that's not my place to say, because I take enjoyment from listening to those Lorne calls that were made, but there are things that are designed purposely to wind him up, to make him as angry, as aggressive as possible, and aggressive
But
as
it's seen as
possible.
justified because he's a criminal.
Well, yeah, exactly. And is that ever okay? I mean, I think in regards to the Jeremy Kyle show, it's certainly not. But with
It,
Lorne, I don't want to say anything that's going to draw any heat from people, because I know some people will always find a way to justify their actions. But people that are trying to get a rise out of people, or make them as aggressive, or make them seem as bad as possible, it's not a very valiant thing to be doing. I think I can certainly say that.
I think we can all agree, even those that are doing it, and if they get a couple of whiskies and speak the truth, that it's not the highest thing for a human being to do, is it? You're sinking. This is my point that I've always tried to make. You sink into their level.
Yeah.
You can't fight. You can't berate somebody for being a criminal and a bad person and then do the same to them and expect to take the moral high ground. It's just a ridiculous human failing. If we all do it every now and again, it's part of the condition of being a human being. How often do we cut people up? How often do we call someone the C word because they've done something wrong in the road? Oh, you cut me up, like saying that word.
Yeah.
And then we do it. And then we don't like it when it happens. And, it's part of being a human, but it's one thing to make them little errors and learn from it. But when you're consciously doing that, and the Kyle show, there's a lot of responsibility to go around with that. You've got the TV bosses, you've got the presenter themselves, the people that worked on the show to a lesser extent, and people like you and me that watch it.
Yeah. It's kind of the debate that we had in regards to Lorne himself. Like, does it make us just as bad because we're listening to those calls and enjoying them? But I think as well, at the same time, if you design something to bring out the worst in someone and then complain that they're a bad person, that's kind of on you for doing that. Like, personally, I think everyone deserves a shot at redemption.
Someone sent me, someone made a comment in one of my videos, one of the last Lawn videos, and said, "Look, listen, Andy, I know you're not into it, but there's a new Lawn call on Clobbering Times channel."
I listened to it.
Yeah, which was like a Tiffany. I don't know much about that situation, but I must admit, like I said, I don't agree with it, but I can't lie and say it doesn't I'm not intrigued by it. Of course I am. He's coughing to stuff he's never coughed to, as I understand it, but I don't agree with the means to get that. So does that mean I can't listen to it?
Well, I think there was a big difference in that most recent call, and anyone that hasn't listened to it, go and check it out on Clobbering Times channel, because there was actually like, it wasn't like let's create conflict and make him seem as bad as possible.
Yeah,
it was like,
that's
let's make him own up to his mistakes. Let's make him see the fact that he never tried to say no, that he keeps claiming, and that the responsibility is on him. And actually, personally, I think to an extent, she was getting through to him. He was actually admitting that what he did was wrong, and he wasn't trying to pass the blame to anyone else, which is the first time I think I've ever heard that.
And yeah, she comes across really well, actually. I was like surprised at like how pleasant she sounds.
Yeah, no, I think that for me is a much better line to take. It's to try and improve someone as a person and say, well, look, you've got to stop. You've got to face the facts.
That's what Ramona did at the beginning, and that's why I like those calls. At the beginning, she was like trying to teach him the error of his ways, and then it just turned into trying to destroy him. Let's create the doctor. Let's take him to the brink of insanity, and then show him it's all a fake. And that's let's not cover old ground. We've been over this a million times.
No, but I think more I wanted to make the point that bear baiting is to example. Let's say someone has something they're sensitive about, and you know it, and you use it against them, then that makes you a bad person.
But does it? I know the argument people will make is it justified if that person's like Lorne, let's say, in a sex offender?
Well, let's not. I mean, yeah, people will always find ways to justify their own actions, just as he tries to justify what he did, or perhaps not justify, but pass the blame or pass the responsibility. Um, but you and I, we had a talk about friends the other day, and how some friends, your closest friends know your insecurities, but the friends that turn out to be cunts are the ones that when you go to a pub and maybe you're chatting up a girl or something, and they start mentioning them in front of them. That's not a good person. That person that needs to do that is has a problem themselves, because they're kind of putting you down to make themselves feel better about themselves. And I don't think anyone necessarily needs to do that.
Well, do you remember I was telling you I won't cover old ground again when I went to my mate's 40th a few weeks ago?
Yeah.
He did that. And I
Yeah.
was one of only two people that turned up, and I was like, this guy's not worth bothering with. And I kind of knew that anyway, but it just kind of, it was surprising. I think me and you talked about this before when we were talking about various issues that we both had in the last few weeks. How in life it seems that some people never grow up, not necessarily grow up, but they never become wiser and they never change. Like some people who are twats always seem to remain twats, don't they?
Well, I mean, there's a reason only two people showed up.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, I just feel a bit. I'm not disappointed that I didn't show up, that I went, because I think it shows that I can walk away with my LLDI. It's just disappointing that some people never seem to become better people.
Yeah. No, well, it's the age-old saying, isn't it? To err is human, to forgive is divine.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes, but it's about whether you can forgive people for those mistakes and move on and see if. I won't go into detail, but I had a very nice conversation with someone yesterday who I hadn't spoken to in a long time, and there'd been a lot of conflict when I used to be in contact with them, and it actually seemed like they had matured, and I was like, that's really pleasing to see. And I hope that when I make mistakes, if people point them out to me, I mean, no one's perfect. I certainly know I have flaws in my personality. You little guys know I'm a bit of a control freak, which is just something I can't really help. And that goes down to even things as simple as going on like amusement park rides and things. Like, I freak out on them because I can't turn them off. It's like when I told you about that, didn't I, Andy? Like, I went on the little girl's horsey ride thing, which was actually more scary than I thought it was going to be. But I thought, if a 6-year-old can go on it, I should be fine. And I got on it and I was like, I don't enjoy this at all. And you were like, well, wasn't the quad biking more scary for you because it's a lot faster and more dangerous? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm in control of that quad bike. Whereas on that ride, I'm not the one in control. So I know I don't know why I'm talking about my deficiencies anyway. Very few of them.
No, we were talking about people, and the topic of the conversation is evolved to us as people and admitting our failings and why we look to other people's failings to feel good about ourselves and things like that. It's like, you're right, sometimes you make a mistake and people can't fucking wait and will never let go of it. It's like when I said that fucking comment a while ago that was a bit silly and maybe sexist. I don't know. It was a bit fucking a drunken comment.
It was not well thought out, no.
No, but it's like we've all had thoughts like that, but I was stupid enough to say it. But some people, they can't wait for you to strip up, can't they? It's like, oh, look what he said, he's a bastard, he's a bastard. Do you know what I mean? It's like, hang on a minute, what about, and that's society, isn't it? Celebrities.
Yeah.
In the press, celebrity, listen, I'm not comparing myself to that. I'm saying, if you look in the press, with A-listers, it really pissed me off. I know you're not a big fan, but like Robbie Williams, right? I've always quite liked some of his music, and when he put a bit of weight on about 10 years ago, and he was chasing UFOs, the press turned on him.
Yeah.
Started putting photos of him and saying Robbie Williams, and I'm like, why do you do that? Why do you need to do that? Why do you need to slag this guy off? It just staggers me.
Well, I think the press is a different entity altogether, because it's pretty disgusting to some extent. I mean, you've got guys, that's why they're called the gutter press. I mean, literally guys that lie in the gutter trying to get upskirt, photos of celebrities, like just trying to take photos of their panties, literally because that's how disgusting we are. Because you'll see Lily Allen upskirt photos, right? Well, you're going to buy a copy of The Sun. But there's some freak has to lie in the gutter to get those photos and stuff, and like taking photos of celebrities when they're drunk or or have done drugs and coming out of clubs and stuff. I mean, we're all human. People, people have their days when they get absolutely hammered. But because you and I aren't important people, we can walk out of a pub absolutely hammered and it doesn't matter. But if you're in the limelight, then, oh, well, that's news, apparently.
Mm. But with regard to the Kyle sort of scenario, I don't know whether you have the same thoughts from that show where it kind of highlighted it in not a great way, although it did try and have a bit of balance. It actually looks despicable what they actually did. And I feel ashamed for watching it at any stage and thinking, why was this accepted for so long? Now that you can look at it in retrospect, it actually looks fucking ridiculous, doesn't it?
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, the fact that they were, because the guy that actually committed suicide, he wasn't the first that tried to commit suicide, was he? Like, the one girl was on there saying in the taxi back from the show she tried to take an overdose. This is what the media will do just to give people entertainment, just for ratings.
Happy Days. He did have a bit of a UFO obsession, Robbie, actually, for a while.
I've got a mate that's into UFOs. I tell him to shut up when he talks about it, but if that's what he's into, then that's what he's into. Who cares? Some people believe in that stuff. Some people believe in different gods and things. I don't believe in them, but I'm not going to slag them off for it.
No, nor should you. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But, of course, people don't like different opinions sometimes. I think we're becoming... I don't know, it's a bit of a... I think we're at a very fucking strange point in our evolution as a species now, where we're trying to work ourselves out. We're not really sure who we are. You know, if you look at the planet as a whole now, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on. You've got all the climate change and people are reacting to that. We're kind of ruining the planet.
Yeah.
Technology's getting crazily advanced. But there's also... Listen, I don't want to go into it too much because I know it's not your thing, but with regard to like consciousness work and spirituality and meditation, I don't know whether it's because I read a lot about it, but it seems to be more people are adopting that way of life now. So I see different pods of people in the world, but also mental health is through the roof, depression's through the roof, this celebrity culture. There's a girl at work and she keeps posting on Facebook that she can't wait for the new Love Island to start. And I'm thinking, and she's consistently posting videos on sort of clips and posts and links on Facebook. I'm thinking, have you not seen the recent press?
Yeah.
Of people killing themselves on it? Does it not make you think that maybe it's shit?
It's never appealed to me, that show, so I can't really pass a judgment on it. I don't want to see a bunch of people, young, good-looking people, having sex when I'm not having sex. That just depresses me. So I don't want to watch that, to be completely honest. But what you said about climate change and the new Attenborough...
Sod off Heisenberg, sorry.
The new Attenborough program has actually done some good, and I think we're taking... It might be far too late, but we're taking some sort of... responsibility in regards to what we're actually doing to our planet now. Apparently, like, recycling is up 60% since that show has been on TV. So sometimes TV shows can do some good, but to compare that to something like the Jeremy Kyle show, which is putting other people's mental states and mental health at risk just for our entertainment, it is... I don't think there's any other word to call it but despicable.
So who's to blame?
Television executives, us for watching it. I don't know. We've all got to take some responsibility, haven't we?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's wrong to single out Kyle, although he does have responsibility, because it's like I said, I don't want to get too deep and spiritual into this, but I think it is a karma thing here, because he's got away with this for years of treading the line of trying to make out that he's interested with these people when he doesn't give a fuck, trying to make out that he's a caring guy, that he's very... You know, this, that, and the other, and he used to have kids on and give them presents. And I just remember thinking, you're a twat. I'm not saying he is 100%. I'm sure he's got a human aspect to him. Of course he has. But I just think it's a little... I'm not trying to say he deserves it, But what goes around comes around, and he's got some difficult times ahead and some explaining to do.
Well, yeah, it's a bit like Chris Hansen sort of disappearing off air and coming across as a bit of a scammer and stuff. I suppose. I think that might. The thing is, I don't think Jeremy Kyle. He's not going to be a poor man after 3,000 episodes on ITV, is he? And he's still got his YouTube channel with millions of subscribers. So he's still going to have revenue
Who?
coming in. Jeremy Kyle. The Jeremy Kyle Show has a YouTube channel.
Oh,
They
oh
just.
yeah. I mean, but money's irrelevant, really. You know, if all this has destroyed that ego that he's made of himself, of me, Jeremy Kyle, and that's been destroyed, he might end up suicidal himself.
I I doubt it. I think it's like we said, I don't think he gave a shit about the people on the program. Now he's going to be disappointed to have lost his show, but he's going to have a few million in the bank. It's not like there's going to be a lynch mob at his door, or it's unlikely. I mean, there might be, but you got a few million in the bank, he'll move away to some quiet tropical island. He's not going to have any problems.
Yeah, I suppose you're right, but you know, I don't wish him any harm or anything. I
No.
think it was a necessary thing to happen. This, as horrible as it is for that person, um, this was going to happen sooner or later, and I think it's going to give us the ability in this country to look at exactly what me and you have done now. You know, I'd like to think that we, you know, look at ourselves objectively. So, in other words, we've both said we're part of the problem. We can't.
Mm.
It'd be ridiculous to have this little podcast, if you want to call it that, and say, "Oh yeah, everybody's a twat. Jeremy Kyle, kill him." You know, we're part of the problem, and you have to realise that in order to change. And I think it's about changing as a culture and
Yeah.
changing the what we use television for and what you do in your spare time. You know, because it's like I watch very little TV these days, and that's just a part of getting older, I think. But it's like when you're young and you're impressionable, TV shows like Jeremy Kyle will draw your attention, and TV executives know that. And I
Yeah.
think it's about time that these fucking executives took a bit more social responsibility.
Well, no, absolutely, they should. I mean, the thing is, knowing the practices that went on behind this show now, it's very kind of Machiavellian and surreptitious that the way that they were doing things, or at least that's the way Dispatches painted it to us, which does make me feel guilty for watching the show. Beforehand, I was kind of like, this is fun. Let's watch the dregs of society taking chunks out of each other verbally. Um, and that's all great because it's just me watching it. I'm not doing anything by it. And I think there are some things on TV which are hugely important. This is why Black Mirror and I've mentioned it twice already, but I think it's in like what 1 week today, the 5th of June. It's either the second or the fifth. Well, 3 new
Yes,
episodes are released.
it's actually a week tomorrow, Adam.
Okay, a week tomorrow. Oh, there's 31 days in May, isn't there? That's why. So that looks really exciting. Although I watched the trailer and none of them looked quite as dystopian as the previous ones, but I'm sure they're going to be fantastic as always. But that's why something like Black Mirror is such an important show to watch because you can get something out of it. It tries to sort of make sense of this dystopian Orwellian world that we seem to be living in now. And do you know, watching the Jeremy Kyle show before, it's never something I would have thought of as being Orwellian, but going back to it now, and after everything they said on Dispatches, I'm like, well, yeah, it's as bad as something like Big Brother. In fact, maybe worse because of it's like in smaller portions where they're trying to create as much conflict as possible. I mean, I'm sure their ratings were always up higher when people are screaming and shouting at people on there. I mean, it's very rare there was ever an episode where people were kind of eloquent and respective of or respecting of each other.
Yeah, um, it's. I mean, maybe because we're talking about changing the shit, well, putting something else in place of that
Mm.
show that's going to be a bit more respectful. It'd be very interesting to see what they do and trying to, because I think
Mm-hmm.
ITV have got a lot of repair damage to do now, haven't they?
The trouble with ITV I mean, Love Island is an ITV show as well, isn't it? And it does sound like,
Damage repair, not repair damage. Same thing.
yeah, well, it does sound like ITV it's sort of it's brought into this. Let's put all these reality shows on here. I mean, you look. I don't know whether it was an ethical decision, but Big Brother went from Channel 4 to Channel 5. It was probably because the ratings dropped because everyone lost interest after the first few years of it. Um, the ratings dropped, so it went to Channel 5, and ITV and Channel 5 are probably kind of the two least moral TV stations, if that makes sense. I mean, ITV has always been kind of known as the lights channel, hasn't it?
Yeah, I don't like the way that they approach certain things. I don't even like the football presentation that they have, to be honest. I don't
No.
like the guests and the anyway. That's irrelevant. Um, yeah, but I don't know though. They're giving the people what they want, but they don't seem to be. I mean, Love Island's getting a new season.
Yeah.
People have committed suicide, but it's still going ahead.
Well,
But if people have committed suicide, does it mean that they should take it off air? Because these people,
yeah.
it's this is why I don't. The person that killed himself after going on Jeremy Kyle, right,
Yeah.
might have killed himself if he hadn't have gone on Jeremy Kyle and just had an argument with his girlfriend because he failed a lie detector or something, didn't he?
Well, this is another thing that we should mention. Those polygraphs, and they said apparently the ITV spokesman said like, well, we're aware the polygraphs aren't 100% accurate, and the guests know that. But however, when the way Jeremy would present those lie detectors, it was never like, well, they're not always right. You know, if he was opening them up and saying, okay, we've got the lie detector results, and in 70% of cases they're right, but he never said it like that. He would say it like fact. I mean, he would hold the card up and shove it in their faces, being like, she is a cheat, or he is a cheat, he's a liar, she's a liar. It was presented as if these polygraphs were gospel, and there was no change from that, which is never the case with polygraphs. Polygraphs can never be 100% accurate, and it was never made clear about that, because I know from watching the show previously, I always thought like, oh, well, they failed the lie detector, that must be you know, they must have been lying, or that it must be right, but that's not necessarily the case. There are, being a bit of a true crime fanatic, there's cases where criminals have passed polygraphs when they have committed the crime. So it's not something that should be used as a tool in the way that the Jeremy Kyle thing did, and that's one thing I think we can definitely say was morally incorrect, is not giving people the facts about these polygraph tests, the fact that they're not always 100% correct.
Yeah, what I will say is that I don't think they took it that seriously. I think that you could call them naive or irresponsible, but
Mm.
it was the way it's done, and I can say this from having watched it. It's all like a stage act. You sit there, you say that. It's all a lot more staged than what you realise, but you are dealing with people's real lives. So I think that what they might say is, well, we didn't think that people were going to kill themselves because we made it quite clear. Don't take it personally. Jeremy's just saying this for ratings to get, but
Mm.
of course you're still interfering in people's lives, aren't you? So
You are, and they have a duty of care if you're going to treat people this way, because I mean that's something else they pointed out during the dispatches program, is that apparently the aftercare was not often actually followed up on, and this sort of thing. And of course, I could be totally incorrect here, but it didn't seem like Jeremy really cared for the guests, afterwards. Now,
no.
they had the doctor guy, didn't they, or the psychologist guy, Graham, and he always sort of seemed kind of like, everyone when he came out was like, oh, Graham, yeah, he's gonna sort everything out. But these programs, if they're gonna put people on them, they have a duty of care. And how can you judge whether someone is mentally stable enough to perform or appear on one
But
of
you
these
can't.
programs?
You
You
can't.
can't. So where do we draw the line and say what's okay? I mean, what could be possibly be put into place to stop that from happening, other than not having
Well,
reality
there's a very
shows?
simple answer to that question, and you don't have TV shows like Jeremy Kyle anymore.
Yeah.
It just shouldn't be. It's just not right, is it?
No, it's not, and I think the same. Although I'm not familiar with the program, but I think the same has to go for Love Island. Again, you're putting. You have to put some responsibility on the people though as well, because I suppose when they go on these shows they sign a waiver, but they probably don't understand, and everyone wants their 15 minutes of fame, don't they? And they sign a waiver saying, yeah, that's fine, you can put me on TV, whatever. I remember they even used to do it in Big Brother, like when the people would get it on under the bed sheets, it wouldn't be graphic, but it'd be clearly shown they were getting it on, and then the next day they're like, oh my god, my parents will have been watching that, and things like that. And you go, well, that's pretty silly on your part, but then maybe it's pretty silly you even went on the show in the first place. Well, I mean, who does the responsibility lie with? Personally, I used to dream of being on something like Big Brother, but not for a long time now.
Yeah, I mean it's understandable. We are, that sort of I've kind of doesn't bother me anymore. But the thought of being famous, it used to be your dream as a kid, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everyone wanted to be on Big Brother when it was first around and it was hugely popular. I think everyone in the world watched the first few series.
I didn't. I fucking hated it.
I still remember watching the first season or first few seasons. I was living with a girl in first time I'd lived with a partner, and so we used to watch it like religiously every night. Even I would come home on my lunch break, and they would show like the red button bit where it was just showing the camera with not much going on at all during the day. I would watch that while I was having my lunch. Um, but yeah, and it's sort of, I know we're going to do a stream about this soon in regards to mental health and that sort of thing, but everyone is very sensitive these days, and it's hard to tell, who would go through with something as dark and horrible as suicide. And how do you allow someone to get into the position where they feel that there's no other option than that? I mean, I would hope most people have people around them um, to support them if they ever
It's
feel like
yeah,
that.
and it's in today's day and age where things are life is more challenging and difficult than it's ever been for both sexes. In some ways, I
Mm.
think it's more difficult. I think it's more difficult to be a woman than it is a bloke these days. Even though male suicide's higher,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not saying I've got the ultimate answer. I just think
Well,
women
I
have
don't. I
got
don't think there's a difference between the sexes. Everyone has it hard for different reasons,
yeah.
and it's how you deal with it. Now, if you've got a good support network of people around you, you're never going to be like that. I think everyone's had dark moments where you. I don't. Well, I don't know if I should say this, but it's. I think at some point, kind of suicide's crossed everyone's mind when you're going through a really bad patch, and you're like, well, is this life is too hard? But then you think, well, I've got my family, they'd be really upset, or I've got my friends, they'd be really upset, and people would take it personally. So you shouldn't do it for even for reasons as simple as that. People would be like, well, was I not enough for them to want to stay alive, and this sort of thing. Now, in regard to this, I can't remember his first name. Was it Steve Diamond, the guy that killed himself after Jeremy Kyle? I don't know the situation around him, but I personally think that it must have had a large influence on his decision to do that. Um,
I came very. I don't think very close, but I put a plan into motion once to do it. Like years and years ago, when I split up with my ex-partner, I know it seems like a ridiculous thing, but there was like
hmm,
there was children involved and all that. I was like lower than you could ever possibly imagine, and we've all had situations. I think, well, not all. I hope that you've never gone that far, or anybody
no,
listening has. But the depth, when I read stories about people committing suicide, I never think that they're selfish because I understand that the pain that
hmm,
person must feel, and they think that that pain's never gonna go away, and they can't cope
yeah, no,
because
I
and
understand.
and some people. I understand why people would say that they're selfish because of what they're putting the family through,
Hmm.
but you must understand that that person at that time does not know how to deal with that pain, and it's horrible.
Yeah, no, there's. In fact, when I first came back to live here, not this time, one of my parents' friends is very sorry, a bit of a dark and sad story because to get to where I live now, you can't. It is attached to the mainland, but it's much quicker to take a boat from the mainland out over to the peninsula, like a car ferry boat. And they've stopped running it now. There used to be two. There used to be one that had like a big passenger bit on it, because it would take you straight across to the train line, and it would take a few cars on it. And there used to be one that was all cars, and it would take foot passengers, but there's only like a tiny little area for people to sit on. I don't know why I'm going into so much detail about the boats, but anyway. But yeah, the other boat, which has now stopped running, a lady went on that, and she was on it. No one even saw, no one noticed, and she just jumped off it. And of course, the River Clyde during the winter, the moment you hit that water, it's hypothermia. You're going to die in seconds.
Mm.
So
It's
yeah,
terrible.
it,
It's terrible.
it's terrible. And her husband didn't even know what had happened. Didn't know where she was, and eventually he found the suicide note under her
So
pillow.
sad. So sad.
Yeah, and it
No.
was, yeah, very, very dark, and yet such an easy thing to do. But like, I hope that no one here, and if anyone ever feels like you're not valued as a person, we've all got a community here. You're all welcome to send me a message if you ever feel that bad. I'll try and cheer you up.
Yeah, same goes for me. Contact me through my YouTube channel at any point. I'm sure nobody could feel that bad where they want to contact me, but you never know.
And if
Um,
if you are affected by the issues in this program, there are hotlines available to call. Um, but yeah, no, it's a sad story, and it's a shame that it seems to be such a common practice these days. And
there was I'm sorry we've gone so dark, but I'd like to touch upon. I was reading a book about the self-image that humans have created, which I'm about one chapter away from finishing, and it touched upon the ridiculousness. Not ridiculous. I don't want to demean anybody that's had those feelings, but it's kind of a unique thing as a human to want to kill yourself. If you look at um, all the species, we have a natural will to survive, and we don't necessarily know where that comes from. But as soon as we're born, we have an instinct to survive, and we want to eat and reproduce and do whatever. And then, so why is it that we as a species want to annihilate ourselves? And what that the book talks about is that what you do as a human is you have a hero story. You're the hero in the story, and if that hero doesn't live up to the expectations that you believe it should, you failed, and you can't live with that, and you want to end because your hero hasn't fulfilled its story. It's really interesting, and it's sad. It's sad that it sort of hurts my heart that people feel that pain.
yeah,
Sometimes I wish I could feel it for everybody else, so that nobody has to feel what I used to. But it just doesn't work like that. But
no,
I do know. Oh, I'm not going to say that because I know you don't believe in that shit, so we'll leave it.
why are you going to say there is a God, and then we'll get into a whole different debate?
Yeah, let's not go
Yeah,
there.
let's not go down there. Um, no, it is sad that just and it can happen to anyone, and no one really knows kind of the darkness that goes on in your own people's minds. Or not your own, or like people's minds around you. Like you could be well off, you could be rich, you could seem happy and everything, but there might be something dark inside, and that's when you need to seek help, or at least support from the people around you, um, and not do anything silly. Anyway,
Yeah.
we've
Are
gone
you going
down.
to carry on, Adam? Because I need to go to bed.
Yeah, you can go to bed.
Oh, thank you.
I'll allow that. You can go to. So we've got a man waiting for you.
I have indeed, and that's why I want to go so quickly.
Yeah, well, you go and have a gay old time. Um, yeah, well, thanks for joining me, Andy. It's been quite interesting. I kind of feel like we haven't said enough about it yet, and I know we're going to do another stream soon, kind of discussing mental health, which might not come across quite as sympathetic as we've been this evening, but it should be quite interesting, I think.
Yeah, I think maybe that can be the next one that we do because it might go in tandem with what we've talked about today.
Exactly, it's kind of a natural sort of follow on from this one, so it'd be quite good. I will stick around for a bit, guys. I might start playing a few tunes. So what I might do is actually stop and restart the stream. I might do a bit of chatting and.
Why don't you get this? Is just a suggestion, so I can carry on listening to it before I go to
Well,
sleep. Why
do you know?
don't you?
Oh, sorry. I had an idea. I was going to play some Britpop this evening, but probably not the
Oh,
stuff you like.
oh okay.
I wanted to play some Arctic Monkeys and some of the bands that influenced me as a teenager growing up. Some indie stuff.
Okay. Well, it's up to you, dude.
Anyway,
But
what were you going to say? Sorry.
No, I was just going to say you could have people maybe call in about their stories, but it might get a bit too grim.
Yeah, if we're all talking about suicide, that's why I want to play some cheery music and get happy.
Village people.
Yeah, yeah. Let's just have some. Not Oasis down. Actually, maybe I played an Oasis song the other night. Actually, I mentioned you when I did it, Andy.
Oh,
But
thank you.
you
I'm
can.
kind of more into Tom Misch these days, to be honest.
Well, there you go. Uh, but anyway, Andy, yeah, take care.
Oasis are the fucking dope, though. That's
The
good.
dope.
I prefer No Gallagher's I Flying Birds. Anyway,
Right.
um, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, and goodbye, everybody.
Take it easy, Andy. I mean, if anyone does have anything that who would like to, I mean, Heisenberg, I don't know if you're free at the moment. If you would like to get involved, feel free to Skype me up, and if you've got anything you would like to add to this chat, I'm not ready to go just yet, but I would like a cigarette. So, oh, pardon me. Um, so yeah, I don't know if Heisenberg is even still here, so he might be, or Terry, if you'd like to call anyone that's got anyone they'd like to add. If not, I'll give you guys like 30 seconds, and I'm going to change the description and stop and very quickly restart the stream. Yeah, just call me, Heisenberg. Right, there we go. I'll just call you now. Hold on. Apologies for the Skype noise, guys listening. I'm just going to get Heisenberg involved.
Hey,
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, and you?
I'm very good, thank you.
So, you were just talking a second ago about musical artists that influenced you when you were a teenager. I'm trying to think who would be popular when you were a teenager. Hank Williams Sr., maybe Johnny Cash, right? But hey, no disrespect though, fantastic artist.
Well, yeah, great artist, but still before my time. Like,
Ah,
well,
dang it.
well, weirdly though, as a kid, I wasn't into like popular music. I actually grew up on kind of soul music. It wasn't as I got older, but I started getting into like I liked some indie stuff as I got older. Things like you probably won't have heard of these. Like I guess they're what called Britpop bands, but like the Long Pigs. I was a fan of Blur. I know
I'm
Andy.
surprised you knew who the Avalanches was when I said that the other day.
Oh yeah, well I did work in a record shop for like 6 years, and they've been around
Was
a
that
while.
Yeah? Did you listen to their newer album that came out like 2 years ago?
No, no, I remember they had.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, I definitely recommend it. And just like the original, you should listen to it in its entire duration all the way through because everything just flows really nicely into each other. It's a very niche genre of music. I believe the term for it is plunderphonics.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I have to admit, recently I've been getting into some steampunk, so that's
I know what steampunk looks like. I
yeah.
don't know what steampunk sounds like.
Oh, you must check out. I can't even remember the name of them. I'll have to hold on. I've got really heavily into them. I just thought they were brilliant. This band, but they're proper like they pretend to be robots and stuff.
Right.
Steam powered giraffe.
I've definitely heard of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're really good. I really enjoy their stuff because it's very
Oh,
mellow.
weren't they supposed to perform at that like really shitty failed Tumblr convention and they just like never booked them at all?
Oh,
Do,
I don't know about these
do you know
things.
what I'm talking about? DashCon 2014. You ever hear about that?
I've heard of DashCon, but
Yeah, I figured you would. I mean, it's arguably one of the greatest scams until Fire Festival.
yeah.
I would say, where they just got a lot of you know innocent Tumblr users into forking over thousands of dollars for things that were promised but were never delivered.
Oh, that documentary is fantastic. I've watched that
Yeah.
twice through now.
Could you imagine? I think we could put together a more entertaining and better value TCAPIS convention at the local Ramada Inn than
But what activities would you have for the TCAPists?
pin the tail on the Lorne. There would be we would have to have a panel discussion with Frag and Dell and Chris Hansen as well. There'd be a dance night, live music, of course, performed by Lorne or one of the other musical predators. I don't know. Yeah, we could do
Free warm milk for everyone.
yes, get your face paint done to look like one of the predators. Yeah. You got a guy that you can take pictures with the guy in the ghillie suit. That yeah, that sounds like a fun time. Where tickets are only $700 or plate of mac and cheese.
Yeah, yeah, or meatballs or deviled eggs.
Yeah.
Yes, excellent. Definitely that would be fun.
Can you imagine if you showed up to like a food bank with, or like you wanted to donate food to charity, but you just like the most perishable like crap, like oh, I just made this bowl of mashed potatoes and gravy, like just one bowl. Anybody wants it, go ahead if you're hungry. I'll just put this in the back.
Yeah. Well, don't do that. I think make sure you give tinned goods to those people. But
Those peasants.
Those peasants. So, were you familiar, Dan, at all with the Jeremy Kyle show?
Familiar, yes. And when I saw you guys were talking about it, I did a little search to refresh myself and look at it. I was wondering why you guys all of a sudden today were talking about it.
I mean, I've mentioned watching it in a few streams previously, but it's never.
Yeah. I mean, we've got what I imagine is the American parallel over here is Jerry Springer.
Well, that's
right.
I talked about that at the beginning, but I think Jerry Springer's a less conflictual. At least it's more of a laugh. I mean, they had.
The best thing about Jerry Springer is how, in sort of the same vein, his name is everywhere in the show. People chant Jerry, Jerry the whole time, when in reality he probably says maybe 50 words throughout an entire episode.
I like Jerry though. He comes across as a funny, nice guy.
Jerry though will just be like, "Please welcome Deshaun," and there's like, "What's going on, Deshaun?" And Deshaun will be like, "Oh, that ain't my kid. I know that my girl's been cheating on me." And then he's like, "Okay, well, here's the girlfriend." And then they just punch each other and swear, and the crowd goes wild. And then they go, "Jerry, Jerry, Jerry." And then the girl goes, "I am not cheating on you." And then Jerry goes, "All right, and here's the man she has been sleeping with." And then they fight, they swear, they go, "Jerry, Jerry." And that show's been on the air for like 100 years.
Is it still going? I thought it stopped a long time ago.
Why would you? It is fun. I actually don't know. I don't watch. I've seen it, but I don't watch it. But you think like with a formula like that, as entertaining as it is, eventually it would get old, wouldn't it? How do you keep raising the stakes? You know?
Yeah. I mean, Jeremy Kyle had the Jeremy Kyle US show for a while. I guess there's that. I watched that. Is it Montel Jordan?
I don't know.
Okay.
The other similar. I mean, there's Maury. Maury's the one with the "You are the father." You are the father.
I've seen Maury.
Yeah.
I've seen Maury because there's an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where Larry David's watching it and he's eating like chips in bed and shouting at the TV. It's when he's still with Cheryl and she gets annoyed with him because he's not working and he's just sitting there watching Maury and shouting at the television.
If you want to learn if you don't consider yourself a good dancer, you want to learn some fresh hip hop dance moves, check out an episode of Maury when the guys say that find out they're not the father. You will never see fresher, more amazing. You will see people do backflips and break dance and
Well, quite happy not to be the father then.
Yeah, Jesus.
Wow.
Good, yeah, and of course they have to show the video of the poor 2-year-old that has no idea what's going on, whose life is about to be just completely fucked. Yes. Either way.
And then everyone goes like, "Oh,
these two idiots are made for each other."
What? Wait, was it Bruno? Is it in? Have you seen Bruno with Sacha Baron Cohen?
No, I haven't, and that's a regret of mine.
I'm not sure if I've got it right. There's an episode of Bruno where he like gets a baby and then takes it onto one of those kind of shows.
Wait, is it one of the movies? Is it the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it's the movie, but it might not be Bruno. What was the other?
Well, he had a show recently, right?
Who is America? Yeah.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
But you're saying he just got a kid and just pretended it was his or something?
Yeah, he got like a black baby, and then he took it onto this show, like talking about all this, like literally, it was like Montel or something. So the audience, the majority was black, and he was like saying, "I'm going to do all this terrible stuff to the baby." I can't remember. Dan saying, yeah, it was Bruno. Yeah, like he adopts the kid and then he's like, oh, I can't remember what he says he's going to do. It's something terrible. But he's trolling them hugely. Oh, that's it. Yeah, Dan's right. He names the baby OJ after OJ Simpson. And he takes it onto one of these kind of chat shows and he's like, I can't remember what he's saying he's going to do to it. Like, I don't know if it's like get it a tattoo or something like that. And it's really
That's
like,
great.
yeah. If you haven't watched Bruno, you must. It's fantastic.
Add it to the list.
Yeah. Well, I take it you've seen.
Every time we talk, we got shit we tell each other to watch, and I'm pretty sure we don't.
Yeah, you've seen Borat, right?
Yeah.
And the Ali G movie.
Way back when it came out. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Bruno is actually one of his best characters. That Who Is America was fantastic as well.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's all about the new Black Mirror series.
About a week, right?
Yeah.
New episodes, yeah.
Yes.
All right.
I love that show. I tried to show it to. I told my parents it was Christmassy, and I made them watch Black Christmas at Christmas, and they were like,
White Christmas.
White Christmas, yeah.
Yeah.
They were like, this is not Christmassy, Adam, nor is it fun or putting us in any kind of good mood.
Come on.
I was like, it's brilliant. You've got to watch it.
Yeah, you definitely got to get people in the right mindset. It's not something you could just flip on, right? You got to sort of sell it a little bit without overhyping it. That's a mistake a lot of people make, I think. Like, it is not with just Black Mirror, but whatever their favorite show is. It is the best show on television. You will never see anything like it. You will love it. And you're like, well, no way is it going to live up to that. I think maybe once in my life I've ever watched a show that did live up to that hype, and that was probably Breaking Bad.
Yeah, okay. Well, I would say as well, and the thing is, I understand not everyone gets it. However, if they don't, I just put it down to a lack of intelligence, because it is probably the most Shakespearean series there ever has been, which would be The Wire.
Mm-hmm.
But people that's like, The Wire is difficult to get into because it's a lot of slang, and I think it was the first TV show with a majority African American cast. And I think that's why it never became popular. There's a documentary made after it finished airing and saying like it was a very difficult thing for them to do with The Wire because people just aren't used to seeing so many black faces on TV. But it was one of the most brilliantly written, in-depth shows ever. And I would encourage anyone that hasn't watched it to watch The Wire from beginning to end. It is, and it's also Charlie Brooker, the writer of Black Mirror's favorite show ever.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So we should have a monthly live book club, you, me, and Andy. But instead of books, we talk about shows that we're watching for the first time together.
That sounds good.
That'd be fun.
Do you have some sort of monologue for about 3 minutes, Dan, that you would like to tell the audience about? Because I would like to have a cigarette, if that's okay, because I've been on for over an hour now, so it's time for a cigarette break. Could you entertain them for a few minutes?
Of course I can.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
I'll leave it in your capable hands. I'll be right back.
Okay. So, The Aristocrat. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, this is Dan Heisenberg White, who is being thrust into the spotlight here as our fearless leader goes out to no doubt relieve himself while smoking a cigarette, enjoying some weak coffee. But yes, if anybody wants to play a little game later, I'm planning on live streaming some Jackbox party games, and we can take hundreds of people in the audience if we want to. And if you're lucky enough to get there on time, you can play and do some of the answers. We played some yesterday, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, that's going to be over on my stream, channel Heisenberg White, probably later tonight. In the meantime, though, best movie, I'd love to hear people in the comments talk about the most recent movie they've seen in the movie theater. Was it Endgame for me? I saw Endgame. No, it was John Wick. I saw John Wick 3. That is a fantastic franchise, by the way. Whose movies I think are all good, but man, that first one is just near unbeatable. Absolutely, yes. Andy has gone to bed, but I imagine if he was still listening, he would talk right now about how The Last Jedi was the perfect sci-fi film and a peak of mankind's cinematic potential, as he often does during these streams. Endgame was good. It was damn good. And I think a lot of people share the sentiment I do, that it was a very good fitting end to the saga, but damn, how you cannot beat Infinity War. The action, the fast pace, the comedy, the tragic parts of it, the ending. A little bit of Endgame sort of felt like rewatching some of the movies I've already seen, whereas Endgame, like, you never knew what was going to happen next. But yeah, Endgame did not disappoint though.
It's silent.
Hello.
What's going on?
Nothing.
Right. 1 second. I need some more water to add whiskey to.
Gotta stay hydrated. Do you have any Splenda?
Well, I thought Andy mentioned during the stream. I don't know why he said it. He just kind of sort of offhandedly said they might be having a few whiskeys. I was like, do you know what? I've got some whiskey right next to me. I'm going to have some whiskey.
I'm drinking a spiked seltzer right now because I've had to give up beer. So
A what?
They're big in America. They came out last summer. It's like seltzer, like flavored seltzer water, but with alcohol in it.
Okay.
Very low calorie, but it gets the job done. It's all right.
Like Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Sort of ish, but clear and like sparkling water, but with alcohol. They do. I swear to God, they sell a product here in the States that is just water with alcohol, and you can buy in like a 6-pack.
Okay.
I don't remember what it's called. I've never had it. It's so stupid.
Right.
I imagine low in calories though. So yeah. Before you came back, I was asking people what was the last film you paid to see in the theater.
Do you know I was meant to go and see a film yesterday, and then it didn't happen. I was going to go and see Rocket Man.
Oh yeah, you were talking about that.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to it because I watched Bohemian Rhapsody when I was with my mate last week, and I really enjoyed
I'd
that.
be careful. I mean, those sort of biopics, if done correctly, could be really good and really interesting, as Bohemian Rhapsody was. However, this, from my understanding, is sort of a blend of Bohemian Rhapsody and but it's not only like there's music in the movie, but the movie itself is a musical. You know what I mean?
Well, that's it. I mean, he's a bit more theatrical, isn't he, Elton John? So it's quite fitting.
For sure, yeah. But I just don't want to have a repeat of Across the Universe, if you know what I mean.
I've never seen that.
It's a musical about some kids, like young adults. But the soundtrack is all Beatles songs.
Okay.
But they're written in a way that the lyrics of the Beatles songs sort of form the story and the plot. And when I originally saw it for the first time, I actually thought it was good. That the singers and performers did an okay job, and there's some visually impressive, scenes and choreography. But otherwise, it's just a mess of a movie, really forced stuff, just so they can put the songs in, right? The character's name's Jude, and there's a Prudence and shit, and Lucy, and
yeah, Eleanor Rigby. Have you seen Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story?
No, but I saw the movie that it was parodying.
Yeah.
And out of principle, I refused to watch
it's
it.
Brilliant though. It's really, really funny. But I haven't seen Walk the Line, the Johnny Cash one? I haven't seen that. So.
Yeah. Great movie. One of my all-time fucking favorites.
I should watch it. My uncle put me off Johnny Cash because he said that Johnny Cash used a lot of, like rappers do these days. I think I mentioned this in a stream recently. I'm having a sense of deja vu right now, but a lot of rappers pretend to have been dealers and stuff before they make their raps, when really they've had kind of a middle class upbringing. But
no, that's certainly not the case, or at least not what's depicted in the film. The real life story of Johnny Cash is pretty tragic. A young kid, he witnessed his own brother be killed in like a farming accident. Like young, like his brother was probably like 7 or 8,
Okay,
and
that
he was younger than
explains
that.
that explains
And
the
his
beginning
dad
of
was
Walk
like
Hard.
really sort of emotionally abusive, and yeah, just kind of helped form his sort of edginess at the time. If emo music was around then, and death metal, maybe that's what he would have been into. But
yeah, no, but if you get a chance, I mean, I really like nearly every film with John C. Reilly in it. So if you get a chance, do
even
watch
Holmes and Watson.
I haven't seen that, and I heard it was awful, so I'm not going to watch
Nobody
it.
has, so yeah.
No, but I enjoyed Step Brothers. I know it's very kind of light-hearted entertainment, but that was good fun. And I really liked what was it called? The one about with him and Steve Coogan about Laurel and Hardy, quite recent film. I can't remember the title of it though. But yeah,
I don't know.
That's where he plays. Oliver Hardy was the fat one, wasn't he? Right? Or
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're
you
talking
don't know
about.
Laurel and Hardy?
I probably do, but I'm drawing a blank right now.
Like silent actors of like like Charlie Chaplin. After Charlie Chaplin, there was Laurel and Hardy.
Okay.
They were like comedians, and they made loads of movies. And one was English and one was American, and they sort of did this double act for a long, long time. I can't believe you don't know who Laurel
there are
and
two
Hardy.
people, Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah, yes, Oliver Hardy.
I thought that was one
Stan
name.
Laurel. No,
Gotcha.
no. Yeah, no. I mean, if you saw them, you would know who.
Is one of them a big fat guy?
Yeah, one's fat and one's tall and skinny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about. All right.
And John C. Reilly played the fat one, and Steve Coogan, who's one of my favourite
comedic
characters,
yeah.
played the thin one. Yeah, Stan Laurel was the thin one. Yeah, Oliver Hardy was the fat one. But yeah, that was a really good movie. I can't remember the title of it though. I should probably change the picture.
I don't know. I think he's staring directly into my soul and speaking to me.
I wanted quite an aggressive picture of him because Andy said it was a bit unfair that I was using that photo of him. That it would turn people against Jeremy Kyle, and I was like, I don't really care.
I don't think he cares either.
I'm actually going to put a picture up in just a moment of the view I have when I go out for a cigarette, so you guys can see what it looks like when I go out for a cigarette here. Let me just download this to my desktop.
We know what the homeless shelter looks like, Alan. You don't need to bum us out.
I think you might be surprised. I mean, it's not a brilliant time in my life where I'm living right now, but you have to take pleasure in the little things, and this is one of them. If I can actually find this to put on.
As Andy says to every woman before sex.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so fun to bash him when he can't be here to defend himself. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, well,
he always has something interesting to add to a conversation.
Yeah, sometimes. There we are.
I don't say he's right all the time, but he's definitely interesting. And he's pretty funny.
That's the view of when I go out for a cigarette. That was taken because I was up really late the other day, so the sun was just rising. So it looks a bit nice because you've just got the sun behind the trees. But yeah, that's the view across that's my parents' front garden right there.
Very nice.
Yeah. You get to watch the boats go by, the big freighters going up the River Clyde, taking stuff up to different places around Scotland.
Time of year, you start to see the lulls come back.
Exactly.
Migrate north.
Saw a yacht the other day. I was like, that was quite a nice yacht. Bastards, I want a yacht.
Yeah. I don't think you do, and I'll tell you why. I would much rather be the guy who's friends with the guy that has a yacht or related to somebody who has a yacht than the owner of a yacht. Because boat upkeep and maintenance and license and fuel and it's just a hassle.
Yeah.
And then you got to worry about people trashing it. And you're like, you know what? I'm just happy coming here once or twice and not have to clean anything and take care of anything.
Yeah, that's true. my dad had a boat for a while, a little boat, like a four berth sailing boat with a motor on it, sort of thing. And he had to sell it because he said the mooring fees were just ridiculous for the amount that he used it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a
Could build
shame.
your own boat.
Yeah,
What do you need? Wood? It's easy.
just some wood and something to make it float.
Hey, if they could do it in the Titanic with half a door,
Yeah, true. I mean, there was more space on that door, to be honest. She was just a bit like, nah, no room on here for you. You can die. But yes, anyway, I actually don't really like that movie because I was forced to watch it and I didn't want to.
I know a girl who says that is her all-time favorite movie.
Well, I mean,
And
it was one of the biggest grossing movies ever, wasn't it?
well, I've seen a lot of really good movies in my day, but I judge my favorite movie based on rewatchability.
Mm-hmm.
The Titanic is so long
Yeah.
and so slow and so depressing. Like, why would you enjoy watching it multiple times?
And you know what's going to happen. Like, it's not
But
like...
that doesn't mean that my favorite movie is the best movie I've ever seen.
So
You know,
what is your favorite movie?
At the moment, it would probably have to be Avengers Infinity War just because I've seen it probably more than I've ever seen any movie ever, and it only came out last year.
Yeah.
I'll rewatch it today and still enjoy it almost nearly as much as I did the first time. But before then, it was probably Disney's 2010 Tron Legacy sequel to the movie Tron, featuring the soundtrack of Daft Punk. And right around where they were just getting into that sweet spot in 3D technology where it actually didn't look like garbage. And seeing that film in the movie theater was so cool. Just, the techno-y Daft Punk sort of 80s future synth look to it. It's a shit movie, really, but I just enjoyed it for weird reasons.
There's movies that are absolute shite. There's a British movie called Another Hood, which is kind of a British, like, it's meant to be a comedy, but it's really badly written, and it's meant to be kind of it's meant to be like a parody of Friday, which it was already a comedy, so I don't know where the thinking came in that. And I watched it for the first time, and I was like, this is so bad, I need to watch it again. And then I watched it the second time.
That's a whole other discussion of movies that are so bad that they're good. For me, if we're not counting The Room, is probably the film Mac and Me.
I've not seen Mac and Me.
I've gotten genuine enjoyment out of how terrible that film is. And I think you would as well.
Well, I began to grow an affection for this film the more I watched it. I ended up watching it like 4 or 5 times. And I was just like... I think I watched it and I was like, you know what? Maybe this film would be good if I was stoned. So I need to get some weed and watch it again. And then I got some weed. And then I was like... It just became one of those films where I was be like, right, well, I've got a bag of weed. I'm going to watch this movie. But... yeah, it's pretty awful, but I quite enjoy watching
it. The
it.
Dark Knight is also, as somebody in the chat, Carol said, like,
yeah,
in terms of, like, story, performance, I mean, think of what it did for superhero movies, really, before a lot of them. It took a ridiculous idea and made it really well grounded and interesting. Not that Batman Begins, the movie that preceded it, didn't do that. It definitely did. But just the performances alone. Like 15, 20 years ago, if you were to imagine like somebody being nominated for an Oscar for their performance in a Batman movie, you would think that's crazy, let alone the Joker, right?
Did he win the Oscar for that?
Yeah, I believe he did, actually, and it was after he died, though.
Oh, wait, Heath Ledger? But Christian Bale's won an Oscar, hasn't he? But I don't know what movie for.
Not for Batman. It might have been for, like, I don't know, The Furnace or some weird movie.
Something
or
like
yeah.
I thought The Machinist was a great movie, actually.
He's a good actor.
Was actually reading a thing on Reddit about this the other day because he puts his body through so much to do those roles. Like he's just put on like £200 to play Dick Cheney in a movie, and and he played obviously in The Machinist. He was really, really gaunt and skinny, and and they were talking about like method actors that do things like that. And who was it? I'm trying to remember. It wasn't Christian Bale, but someone else was
Jared
talking.
Leto.
No, it was someone a bit
Jared Leto
older. And they were
was
talking
a
to
method
Laurence
actor.
Olivier, and
Mm-hmm.
he was saying like how do you like I think it was like De Niro or Pacino, it might have been, and like saying like
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I've just had to put on all this weight or take off all this weight and do this for the thing. How do you do it, Lawrence? And he went, it's called acting, dear boy. Try doing that instead. And I thought that was quite funny at the time anyway. But yeah, because like most people would just wear a fat suit or something, but Christian Bale actually puts on or takes off the weight that he needs for those movies. Yeah, and the only reason I know he's won an Oscar is because we've got the Pointless board game, and I played the Pointless
Oh,
board game. And you had to name British actors who had won an Oscar, and of course Christian Bale is from Wales.
he might have won an Oscar for what's that movie called? About the magicians, Prestige or something like that,
Oh right, yeah, I've not
with
seen
Hugh
that.
Jackman.
Yeah,
It was on Netflix, and I checked it out for the first time maybe 2 years ago. Even though the film's been out for I think over 10 years at this point, still very much felt like a Christopher Nolan, just character-driven story that is so well grounded in a story that makes almost no sense. As weird as that is. He also made Memento. Have you seen that movie?
Oh yeah, I love Memento.
Yeah, that was a confusing watch. I mean, I knew going in what it was supposed to be, and it was really good.
Guy Pearce is the main actor in that, isn't it? Yeah, really weird because I doubt you had it in America, but as a kid we had like these Australian soap operas. And Guy Pearce got his break in a show called Neighbours. Then to see him in like Hollywood movies was quite strange, going from like soap operas to being a leading man in Hollywood. But yeah, Memento's a great movie. Didn't know that was Nolan at all. Didn't even know Nolan's name.
That was one of his first movies too, believe it or not. Imagine like your directorial debut being that.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, I absolutely loved Dunkirk, and normally I'm not big on war movies, but I thought that was fantastic. I really liked the way it was done, like without actually not seeing the Germans throughout the whole movie, just the kind of sense of tension the whole way through.
You know what? I've seen quite a lot of war movies, but I wouldn't, and they were all really good, but I wouldn't put any of them as like one of my favorite movies. Maybe Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah,
if that counts.
That's a good movie.
Yeah, I'm trying like Saving Private Ryan.
That was filmed where I went to school. Some of it, the battle scenes, were filmed in Tame Park.
Oh my God, you are old. It was filmed during World War II?
Shut up. No, because it said in our local paper, Tom Hanks was staying at one of the hotels in the town Tame where I went to school.
There's a good chance I might run into John Krasinski, the character who played the actor who played Jim from The American Office. He's directing A Quiet Place 2 in Western New York, where I live.
Oh, nice! I really enjoyed the first one.
I did too.
Yeah. Didn't know they could really make a sequel to it though, but it should be interesting. Because he's playing Jack Ryan.
The movie makes enough money; they can make a sequel to anything.
That's true. Yes, but often
money.
It devalues the first. It's like
not always. There's quite a few movies whose sequels rival and sometimes even outperform in terms of money and quality the original.
On occasion, yes, but you look at something like Blues Brothers 2000, which I've refused to watch because I love the original Blues Brothers so much. I won't watch that because I don't want it soiled.
To me, I think sequels aren't necessary, but are welcome. What I believe is completely unnecessary are reboots.
Yeah.
The Aladdin reboot, the Beauty and the Beast reboot, the Ghostbusters reboot. But Ghostbusters is an exception because it really wasn't a reboot, was it? It was a totally different story
I've
with
not
totally
watched it.
different characters in a totally different time. That's all I know about it. I didn't see it.
I won't watch it because Ghostbusters was my favourite film growing up as a kid. I loved that movie so much. I won't have the memory soiled again by
I think
the reboot.
it probably was blown out. At the most, it was probably just a subpar comedy. But I guess I can't objectively say for sure until I do watch it. But I just have no desire to. And that isn't out of like hatred for women, or it's just it was not a film that appealed to me at all. I just didn't want to see it, you know.
I just got no interest in watching that.
I think Leslie Jones is like the least funny cast member on SNL right now
don't
too.
Even know who that is.
She's the African American woman in that movie. Where at the same time, Kristen Stewart? No. Oh shoot. The main woman in that movie.
I don't know.
Who is also on SNL. I think she's hilarious. I can't. It's not Kristen Stewart. Somebody's gonna help me out.
Yeah.
Or I can just look it up.
Yeah, you could look it up. Just a shout out to the people mentioning the Cornetto trilogy in the chat. Of course, yes, some of my favourite movies as well. Which is the name for the Edgar Wright films, well, the 3 Edgar Wright films with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
Kristen Wiig, that's it. Kristen Wiig is fucking hilarious.
Kirsten
in everything.
Wiig. Kirsten Wiig, isn't it?
Oh, it is. No, it's Kristen Wiig.
Is it?
Kristen.
Okay.
Melissa McCarthy is pretty funny too. She's sort of that like, I'm a little bit of a larger woman. That's my shtick, you know, kind of. But yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, all good movies.
All the Harry Potter films were good.
Yeah, but I read the books first, so I enjoyed the movies, but I preferred the books. I think I took something very different to what J.K. Rowling intended from the books, but I guess that's the
how long until that series is rebooted?
I don't know. I mean, they've already made a stage play, haven't they? That's set 19 years on from the final.
And the Fantastic Beasts movies. They've already made 2 of those.
I haven't seen those either yet. And
I haven't either.
Quite like to watch them.
I'm not a Harry Potter super fan, but I did genuinely enjoy all the films, and I read as a child most of those books as well. But I wouldn't consider myself like some people. Harry Potter is just like their livelihood, like to this day, you know.
Oh, it's mental. Like when you go to the airports in London, they've got like shops with just Harry Potter things in them.
Well, imagine that me, the American, 2 years ago when I went to London with a class full of college students. I was only one of 2 guys on the whole trip.
Well, that sounds good.
Like 25. Well, I was not single at the time, so I had to be on my best behavior, and I was. But yeah, about 25, 19 to 20-year-old, you know, girls, just the shittiest Harry Potter souvenirs at the shittiest Harry Potter stores that they could pay $40 less for if they just bought it in America. But they had, you know, but this wand is this, and this owl is this. And, yeah. But it was cool. We did get to take a studio tour of where they filmed the movies, which was really cool, actually.
Is it Pinewood?
It's its own studio. Like they built it, like it's preserved. Like they've designated the studio now as just the Harry Potter Museum, and where they have all the costumes and set designs and props and things like that. I can't remember where it was. It was a little bit out of the way from. It was like a 40-minute drive from London, where we were.
The Zepp is asking what's the best Harry Potter. Now, if you're gonna you can't just pick one. You've got to watch them in order, really, if you're gonna watch the movies. But personally,
and also like tonally, the first one is the furthest thing away from from the last one. You know?
Yeah, they do get a lot darker,
which is interesting because I mean, thematically, that also makes sense. The story matured with the cast and the characters.
Yeah, it did. It was very well done in that way. The first one's sort of a kind of very family fantastical adventure. I mean, they're all family films to an extent, aren't they? But you know, they do. There is deaths and things.
Not enough nudity.
Not enough. Well, yeah.
All right, maybe I shouldn't say that. Most of them are kids, so never mind. I retract that.
Well, actually, right.
We never got to see Hagrid's dick.
I bet it was gigantic as well. Emma Watson used to go shopping in Tame, where I grew up, because obviously I grew up in a very posh area in Oxfordshire, and she was in Waitrose, of course. Well, the English people would know what Waitrose is. I don't think you've got an American equivalent. Waitrose is like our upmarket supermarket. I actually used to work there.
That's like Whole Foods.
Yeah, but not
Yeah.
as poncy.
Right.
And my mate came, like, I worked in a record shop at the time, and he came running in my shop, and he went, "Emma Watson's in Waitrose. She's so fucking fit." And I was like, I bet she is.
Yeah. When you can afford to be, it's easy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's us poor people that have the problem, which isn't that funny. The people with the least amount of money eat the most amount of food. Huh.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it, that?
Yeah. Well, it's a part of it isn't their fault. It's that the cheapest food is usually the most unhealthy.
Yeah.
You know, bag of chips
right.
for 99 cents. Yeah.
When you haven't got much money, you can always get yourself a packet of crisps.
Mm-hmm.
Which was my favourite, the Zepp, though. The thing is, I can't remember all the films that well. It's been a long time since I've watched them, but going by the books, the fourth and the last were my favourite books. So
it was by the third film was when they hit puberty. So
yeah, but I loved the fourth book. I mean, the fourth book was massive compared to the ones that came before it because it covered so much. It starts out with the Quidditch World Cup, but then it gets really dark and yeah, it's really good. The fourth.
Oh
one.
yeah. Oh but that's the one where they got like a third of the story is about them getting dates to the dance. You know. And he's like, is he going to go with the girl he likes? But it's not even the girl that he goes with. Some girl who's not even the girl that he likes at the time, who's not even the girl that he ends up with at the end of the series.
Yes, it was the one that introduced Fleur Delacour, wasn't it?
Here's the theory. Who is still a virgin, Harry Potter or Lorne? Okay, but by the end of the okay, never mind. He has a kid by the end of the last film, so never mind. He could just be a major cuck, though.
Oh, of course, at the very end. Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, Ron was a player. Ron was all about the poontang.
Ron is living example that you can escape the friend zone, you know?
Yeah, exactly. If you
just, risk your life multiple times, become a miserable, bastard and totally emotionally and physically devote yourself to one human being your entire life. That's all it takes.
Yeah, true. Well, to be fair, he was kind of heroic in the last movie, though, wasn't he? But then so was she. I mean, everyone was.
It took him long enough. Yeah. Harry Potter, the boy. I mean, God bless Hermione, who pretty much was the unsung hero of nearly every story.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we going to do? And she's like, wait, I read a book about this once. And they're like, okay.
I've got a spell for this.
Yeah. Good thing you're paying attention in class because I am not. It's hard to pay attention when like multiple people and forces are trying to kill you. So, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Yes, Dan. Dan in the chat. Sorry, Ron is he's punching up, definitely. But there you go. He made a film with, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the TV show Misfits. He made a film with Nathan from Misfits, and they did an interview about it. Now I haven't seen the film, but they're both stoned out of their minds in the interview. Like they don't say.
He made a movie with Ron Perlman too that I never watched.
Did he? What, Rupert Grint?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're in this interview because like the guy that played Nathan in Misfits, I can't remember his name. He's like an Irish guy, but both of their eyes are like red as hell, and they're just giggling at everything and stuff. It's quite funny, the interview, but I don't remember the movie. Anyway, to come back to what you said about Lorne, do you think he's still a virgin? Then I think we might have discussed this before, but why don't we?
Well, you definitely. I don't know if I've been on air talking about it before, but I would say, regardless, it is unverifiable unless there is video evidence. It's kind of like aliens at this point.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have the proof, but who's to say, you know? Who's to say that maybe in our lifetime we will never know?
No, I guess.
But
I just think, you can't get to 48 years old and not have had at least one woman take pity on you.
But let's look at the facts here, and I'm going to play contrarian, even though I sort of agree with your point. he has spent 5 of those years in jail.
Yeah.
Many of those years fighting back at the legal system. He spent many of those years as a sex offender, registered sex offender, loner, outcast with no friends, living in a trailer. You think during his time in the Air Force would be like prime babe time, but realistically, his military time and service, he was ideally working and focused on his, missions and his jobs to not have time to fuck around. Ultimately, it was sort of fucking around that got him out of the military. And then there was him. I think the window, though, is the time when he was in Maine and he had his business where he was actually making money. He could afford to live on his own and probably went out karaokeing then, too. Probably went out to the bars, had some drinks. Where I don't think it's possible even in Nashville is, what are you going to do if you're at the bar and you got some sloppy drunk girl all over you wanting your dick because she saw you sing Highwayman on the karaoke machine 10 minutes ago, and you bring her back to your apartment and she's like, "Where's your bed?" And he's like, I don't have one. We're going to sleep on the floor. Like, that's red flag city right there,
Yeah. There's no furniture in here except a computer and a chair.
It's like if we mush together some of the loose dog hair fur that's all over the place, we can make like a pillow.
Oh.
Bud.
Um,
Buddy. So you're right, but like statistically, it shouldn't be likely. And here's the other factor I left out. It's Lorne Armstrong.
Yeah.
Stupid, irrational, delusional, unattractive Lorne Armstrong.
Angry.
Yeah. Drunk. Slovenly, rapey,
he does look
criminal.
He does look a bit like
He was a criminal even before the sting.
Oh, of course, because of his OUI.
And the scam and the money from Betty, and that's only what we know about. Who knows what else he got away with.
Yeah, but I mean, those kind of things you don't have to.
Those aren't the kind of crimes that turn on women,
No, I don't think. Like the thing
when a girl says she wants a bad boy, she doesn't want the guy who drunkenly fell asleep at the wheel and crashed into somebody's house and stole money from an old couple. And tried to fuck a 13-year-old.
He always talks about it's like, all I had before was an OUI. It's like, yeah, driving under the influence is quite serious.
And it is funny that he says, "Why me to be on the show? All I had was the OUI." I would say I can't remember who just made this point very recently. Probably 90% of those guys on the show didn't have a criminal record at all before then.
Yeah. Yeah, so why me? Why did they choose me? Like, my record's almost clean, except for that time that I drunk drove and nearly killed
myself and a bunch of other innocent people, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, why?
It's like, well, we didn't know that before, but now we do, and that makes this even better.
It's like they thought he looked at his record beforehand. I don't think that had anything to do.
For every Vincent Ambrosio, and by that I mean for everyone who you might be a little bit inclined to take pity on, you'll have a Lorne Armstrong who is just a menace to society and a burden on himself and his family. Weirdly enough, though, they were both there to do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember Vincent Ambrosio, and that's probably because
he's on the Hansen versus Predator. They just released the footage finally.
Oh right, what, like a new
2 weeks ago. From Hansen versus Predator, he was the one that we never got to see, but Chris has just now.
Oh, is it on Chris Hansen's channel?
It's on his website. You have to pay for it, but there are some other ways you can watch it, and I can tell you after the stream.
Oh, right. Yeah, you got to hit me up with a link there.
Oy. But I'm no criminal. The only thing I have on my record is an OUI. So.
Exactly.
Well, that rivals in stupidity the except for this time I tried to sleep with a 13-year-old, and that other time I tried to sleep with a 13-year-old. I've never done this before. Why do you think I'm a murderer? Just because that one time I tried to kill somebody, and this time that I tried to kill somebody, I'm just as innocent as everybody.
I do think, to be fair, my interest in TCAP has waned a lot over the last year or so. Like,
Yeah.
I still take an interest in the Lorne stuff, but
It's too permanently ingrained in my life to like not think about on a daily basis. You know.
I mean, there's
I mean,
literally
there was a period where like I just like woke up and we're like, I have to live stream today. I have to make something today because it was exciting.
yeah,
There was really good people. Everybody was getting along with each other, and we could just have these great debates about things. And it's like now, a lot of it is drowned in reality, and reality is stranger than fiction. And the crazy things that we could have imagined Lauren had been up to had we never contacted him would pale in comparison to the actual shit that he gets up to now. And it just sort of takes some of the fantasy out of it. You know,
yeah.
fantasies dreamt online or in your mind. You know, the internet and real life are two different things. You know,
It's a
you
question.
got guys out here getting married. You got guys out here fucking moving on and improving their life and owning up to their responsibility. You know, that's great, but that does not make for fun, you know,
It doesn't make
content.
for entertainment.
And the entertainment is usually because somebody's ruining their life and ruining the lives of those around them, and that's a little depressing too, you know?
It is. It's why I've pulled back a lot from that whole kind of area recently. It just all got a bit dark, and I think
Like, it's funny when Lorne is ruining his life when he's alone and has no family in Nashville. But, you know, when he's taking advantage of other people and his mother and he's being abusive to his pets and, you know,
Yeah.
things like that, it just gets a little too real.
Yeah, no,
And when you have a direct hand in it, too, you know, that's especially weird. I say you as in, like, a group, not you specifically, although you did school him pretty good as Edward Snowden once, so that was fun.
Well, that was a long time ago. Very, very brief. I mean, I do have the honor
The
of...
one and only catfish he's ever been able to call out.
Yeah, and literally within seconds. I mean, it's quite an experience to be...
And you know why, right? It's because you're a man.
Oh,
and he didn't want to believe it.
Yeah, well, also he was like, Edward Snowden's not English. And then he called me a fucking retard, which is a little bit hypocritical, if I do say so myself. You know, maybe Pot Kettle Black comes to mind when Lorne said that to me, but...
There's an episode of The American Office, I'm going to remind you. Do you remember the safety training episode where Michael was going to jump off the roof?
Maybe. I mean, I've seen all of the episodes.
He was going to jump into the bounce house and make everybody feel sad for him. But when they realized that was the plan, they're like, wait, he might actually like injure himself. Let's try to get him down.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's like, hey, Michael, I have a surprise for you. You have to come down and get it, though. And Michael's like, well, what is it? And Dwight grabs the megaphone. He's like, I don't see anything. And he catches on and realizes what they're trying to do. And he goes, oh, it's a Japanese exclusive robot android expo original. And Michael goes, Dwight, you are such a liar. Pam, what is it really? Like, and then later on, he's like, okay, I'm coming down. Pam, I'm coming to get my present.
Oh, Catherine, I'd be curious.
That's what I imagine Lorne is like, though. Like in that conversation, he probably was like, Ramona, that wasn't Edward Snowden. I mean, was it? Like,
who was it really?
Was it?
Which of your boyfriends was that?
Yeah.
I want you to get that fucking Edward Snowden out of our lives.
I can't. He's taking me to Russia with him.
Yeah, and China.
Yeah.
I remember saying that now. We're very disappointed with you in Russia and China.
I thought you had a pretty good excuse when he called up the accent. Like, well, you know, you never know who's monitoring these phone calls. I got to disguise myself, protect my identity, and you'd think that would be something he would do, right?
True.
Yeah. How do we know that the Edward Snowden we think we know is even really the real Edward Snowden?
Exactly. It's all a bit Inception.
What if, hear me out, the real Edward Snowden all along was Lorne?
Wow. And Lorne is harbouring Julian Assange.
He's got close access to the military. He has an unexplained 5-year gap of his whereabouts that he claims he was in prison for. Just seems like the perfect setup.
Could have been. Maybe the whole thing was a setup. Maybe like the whole sting on To Catch a Predator. Like, let's make it public so that he can go off and do his business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Catherine, I'm curious to hear about this Tinder date. I'm sorry if you're putting it in the chat, so I hope you don't mind me reading it out because I love hearing about dates that go terribly. That's a bit of Schadenfreude there. Well, I don't know if it does go terribly. So Catherine was going to meet a very nice-looking man on Tinder. They were setting up a place to meet, and he told her that the name of his condo development. He was in the middle of a move. He didn't tell you his name was 22, did he? Said he only had his bed awaiting the rest of the furniture was being moved in the morning. I'd said from the beginning I wanted no sex yet. I hope Catherine can type as fast because now I'm literally on tenterhooks.
We're on the edge here, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that if a girl said to me, "I've only got a bed," at least she's got a bed. I'd be all right with that. Like, I've got.
Yeah, but I think that's like a little coincidental, right? Like, oh, sorry, the only thing I got is my bed, so I guess we have to hang out here in the bed.
Oh yeah, I see. That's like,
a little predatory. Turns out all of his furniture is just shoved in the closet. And
it's like that hot. Like, it's quite a disgusting chat up line, I suppose. But like, oh, if you come round, I'm going to hide all the chairs. Why? So the only place you can sit is on my face.
Sit is on my face.
He came to pick me up in a Mercedes and nice clothes. Okay.
Uh-oh. I'd play a millionaire at parties. At least I'd like to.
So I mean, he's got a Mercedes. He's got the back of the Mercedes.
Very nice.
Anyway,
okay, where does this go wrong?
Yeah, what you like that? You know, don't even need a house if he's got a Mercedes.
I had to dump him. No.
I mean, he's got a car.
He took you, and then he took you karaokeing, right?
Yeah. And his wig fell off.
And a guy ran in and said, "Give me back my Mercedes, Lord."
Yeah. Roy comes in. I want my Mercedes back, Lord.
Roy's Mercedes. Right.
On the second floor condo.
Condo is playing an important theme in the story so far.
For those who aren't aware, with American terminology, condom means condom. Condom.
Hold on, let's give it a second.
It's reconnected.
Damn it! We were just getting to the punchline.
No, we should be.
It's not a joke. It's a real story. There we go.
Yes, excellent. Apologies, we just had a slight technical hiccup. I've lost the ability to speak. Okay, and he has an empty condo with a lamp and a blow-up mattress, right? No furniture.
Love it.
Okay.
The lamp's on the ground, I'm guessing. Yeah.
Don't put it on the blow-up mattress.
I don't see
that
what's
is
wrong
dangerous.
here. He's a minimalist.
Yeah.
He's enlightened. He's not bound by his possessions.
So we sit on his bed. But there's nothing wrong with a good blow-up mattress, Marie. When I first moved into my house in Spain, I moved in there earlier than... Well, I was allowed to move in, but I still had rent on the other place I was living. And I was like, do you know what? I'm sick of living in the other place because it was horrible. So I just went there and I bought like a €10 double blow-up mattress. And I slept on that for the first 3 or 4 days. And
he's moving in for the kill.
Okay. It all seemed decent. Okay, I mean,
I mean, a little red flaggy, but the story checked out in the car.
Yeah,
sort of.
I'm curious to see what happens though, because
Was it like limited availability? Because wouldn't you just wait until you had all your furniture to go out with somebody?
Yeah,
or was that like the only time you were free?
That did cross my mind. Like, to be honest, like when I had my blow up mattress, I didn't think, right, I'm gonna get on Tinder and get out there. I thought I'm gonna wait till I've got some furniture. Okay, so he's doming you is to dominate you, I guess.
Okay, so you're telling him no. You're like, not in the mood, not happening.
I hope this doesn't get too rapey. We don't need sad stories.
Unfortunately, but was this a recent date you went on?
I think from the impression I'm getting,
like all time.
Yeah. Dominating, yeah. Doming means to dominate, I think.
Like he's forcing himself on her, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a bit. That's not really on.
Which gentlemen always do that. Always ignore the signs. Press on. ignore her feelings, and then eventually you get your nut off, and everybody wins, right?
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
how
if
that
she
works.
says no, just shout opposites day and carry on.
Opposite day, you raped me.
Yeah. Sorry, so we're making light of something
Jesus.
quite dark here. So I
But
apologize, Catherine.
like you said, this sounds like a happy ending, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yes, later you realized that there were red flags, yes.
Gee,
Well, hopefully you got out of there. You
What-
said no, but he moved in. Did
Okay.
he really?
That's not. No, oh, Catherine, don't do that to us. That's not fair. We're like, Jesus, we've been making light of
Yikes.
this situation, and then we're like, shit. Oh.
Well, here's this clown, okay, who's got his nice
Oh, no.
car.
Oh, I thought you said
He's
no.
got it.
So it did happen. But I think she means now. I don't use Tinder anymore.
Oh.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Catherine. That's fucked. I wouldn't.
There's a bit of, man, like, what do you even do after that, right? Well, you know, everybody said, like, well, are you going to go to the, but there's so much of a burden to prove things, and then it's all he says, she said. Like, I believe you. I believe this story. I believe this is a very real thing that happens and definitely happened to you, but that's so shitty.
Yeah, no, like, if someone says no, then you stop. That's that. A real gentleman never pushes too far. And, you know, even if he only had a blow-up bed, like, if he was nice and
And
gentleman
if
about it,
the
he could have
girl's
seen
into
you
you,
again.
you don't have to push. You don't have to nag. If that's how you know it's consensual, when they're into it. Yeah. It's not just like, oh, well, maybe if for 45 minutes I just really corner her, you know.
Yeah, I never
That's
get
not how that
that
shit
with
works.
people. Like, who wants to?
Like, until they just finally give in. Like, where's the satisfaction?
Yeah. Like, if the girl's not into it, then I don't see the point in it. That's just my personal opinion. Well, I think it should be most gentlemen's opinion. Well, don't give in, Catherine. You got to be strong and say you should have just run out or phoned someone, got your phone out and said, "Look, this is happening." Like, you've got to you got to stand up for yourself.
But it shouldn't be. But the shitty thing is, it shouldn't be on her.
No, it's not. No.
Like, it should just not happen.
It should. Yeah.
It's an unfortunate reality.
It is unfortunate.
There's no blame on your part. Trust me. You were willing to give him more than enough chances too. I mean, yeah, he gave you the red flags, and you said, like, you know what, like, I'm not one to judge. Like, you know, let me give you the chance here. And that's just so shitty that happened, and that happened the way it did.
Yeah. Like, I think we discussed it in a stream previously. I had an ex-friend that did something similar. It wasn't. I don't think you could call it full rape, but it was pretty sick because the girl was very, very drunk, and I don't think she was in a position to give full consent. And after he did that, I didn't want to be friends with him anymore. I just thought, you know, I might have my own issues and such, but there's certain moral things that you should never do.
I think two intoxicated people.
If you're both intoxicated, that's fine, but he wasn't, and that's what I didn't like.
But not to the point of black. Like, you're both got your buzz on, and you at least raise the question and say, like, how are you feeling right now? Like, do you want to do this? You don't have to. And yeah, sometimes some women consider that a turnoff, which I think is so stupid. Like, I'm just trying to be careful out here. Yeah, I know we're in the heat of the moment, but, like, I ain't ready to go to jail over this shit, you know? So I asked. I said, like, are you sure you want to do this? And in that case, you know, proceed. But when the woman is intoxicated and the man is completely sober and is like, ding, 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 like, free lady. Yeah. I guess that goes for both sexes, to be honest. But
yeah. Yes, I've had women take advantage of me when I've been very drunk. And then, you know, there's been, like, girls that have been interested in me that I've not been interested in, and then I've got very drunk and they've made a move. And that, again, but that's on me, really, for being drunk and them looking much better after 10 beers.
What is it about alcohol that makes us horny?
I don't know.
Does it? Or are we always just that horny and just the alcohol just sort of, like,
Like,
quiets the voice in your head that says like, all right, let's be respectful here. You know, let's try to control ourselves
yeah,
here.
I don't know. It's like, but
Alcohol
also,
just lets you let loose.
it
You know,
warps your perception as well, though, doesn't it? It's like, never been attracted to you before, but suddenly after all these beers, you look fantastic.
right?
Anyway, this is again. I'm a bit depressed.
I
Now,
agree,
to be
Linda.
honest.
By the way, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like when you've been dating somebody for a long time, and you know, you have a ritual where you're like, okay, you know, Tuesday nights we both have off. You know, we usually like to cuddle in bed, and we just get you. You don't have to initiate with, "Are you prepared for the sex?" You know, every time, and you know, but especially a first time encounter, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, like, I'm actually, why am I going to be this honest and open? But like, I've been intimate with people on the first date, and I've always quite enjoyed it. Like, people say, "Oh,
It happens, yeah.
that makes you easy" or whatever, but I don't think it does.
It's like if you both want the same thing,
Yeah.
then why masquerade it? You
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Like, if you both, it's
It's usually because you both are getting along and you're vibing with each other. You know?
No, I met a really lovely girl, and she was actually like, when I first saw her, I thought, wow, she's really gorgeous. This was long before I had YouTube and stuff, and
Yes, skeleton. By the way.
yes,
Go on.
it is, Mark. Thanks. But like, she was really gorgeous, and it was long before like I used my YouTube clout to get attractive women. So she was very gorgeous. I thought, I've got no chance here when I met her, and then we hit it off. We got on really well, and we went back to my house. Honestly, right, I don't. I don't know if I should say this. I thought, is this a joke? Like, this has gone too well. And I was like, do you want to come back to my house? And at the time, this was my first year living in Barcelona. So I lived in like a shared house with a single bed. It was pretty small. And she was like, yeah, I'll come back to your house. And she had a car and her own house with a swimming pool and stuff. And but obviously, I didn't know that till later. But anyway, and like she was like, have you got condoms? And I was like, oh no, I haven't. She's like, right, let's go to the 24-hour pharmacy. I'll drive up there. And I thought, this has got to be a joke. Like, this, I never get this lucky. And she was like, she couldn't park, or was not meant to park where I had to get out to go to the pharmacy. So I went there, and I was like, when I come out of the pharmacy, she's going to be gone. This is just all going to be a joke to see if I'll actually go and buy condoms or something. But she was still there. And then we went back, to my house, and then we continued it was a nice relationship, because it was kind of like friends with benefits. We didn't meet up very often, maybe once a month.
Friends with benefits has like a bit of a negative connotation, but in reality, it's like two people that get along and enjoy each other's company and enjoy having sex with each other, but like aren't in the emotional state necessarily to have a full-on relationship.
No,
Usually because there's a bit of a past experience that sort of affected them in a way, and both parties are respectful of that.
No,
So
absolutely.
with always the possibility that it could turn into a relationship.
Yeah, no, in fact, it's kind of disappointing, because like it just sort of fizzled out, to be honest. She had a daughter, and 3 weeks of the month her daughter was with her, so the only time I could ever see her was when my daughter was with the dad. So it only gave us like a small window to see each other, and then we kind of, it fizzled out. I didn't hear from her for maybe a year or so, and I moved to my new apartment in Barcelona, which was much nicer. And one night I got a random WhatsApp from her, and she was just like, you were such a great guy and so lovely, and you never put any pressure on me, and I really appreciated that. And I need to tell you, the reason I haven't spoken to you in so long is because I was seeing someone else. And I was like, to be honest, I kind of figured that. It's not like I wasn't dating other people, so I'm not mad about it. And it was a bit odd, because she then just sent me, I love you. And I was like, okay. And then we kept making these arrangements. We'd be like, right, we're going to meet up again. I don't know if it was anxiety. I'm kind of a nervous, anxious person at times, and I think she was as well. And we'd sort of make these arrangements and be like, right, we're going to meet up this day. And then like one of us would message and say, do you know what? We're not going to do it, or something's come up, or she'd be like, I've got to look after my daughter, or I'd be like, oh, do you know what? I've just realised it's FIFA weekend league and I don't have an evening to give up. I wouldn't say that. Of course, I'd make a different excuse, because people would think that's pretty pathetic if I said I'm not going on our date because I'm staying home to play FIFA. But there you go. But yeah.
That just makes them want you more.
Well, yeah, it's true. Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's a positive experience I had where I met a girl who was quite happy to be intimate on the first night, and I didn't hold it against her. I never thought, oh, she's easy because of it or whatever. It's just two people who were attracted to each other, so why not? I was talking to a friend the other day about like Christianity and stuff, and not having sex until after marriage, and I was like, well, you wouldn't buy a car without driving it, would you?
Is that all you think of women, Adam? My goodness.
No, of course not. But there has to be a sexual chemistry if you're trying to find a long-term partner.
Boy, this house sure looks nice from the outside. I will buy it, and live there the rest of my life.
Exactly.
Oh, there's no toilets in the house?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah. You've not finished building the inside of it. Well, that was a mistake then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I want to thank Catherine real quick for opening up and sharing the story. By the way, we're all friends here.
Yeah.
And we'll never shame anybody for anything like that. So yeah, you're definitely among friends. I'd be interested to hear if anybody has any bad first encounters, bad first date stories that ended up a little bit better, but you could just from the start tell that they weren't who they said they were, or they did some really red flaggy things right away that tipped you off. I've never really gone on a bad date. It usually will take a little while for me to even like consider a date, but I did very recently cancel a first date just because I just absolutely wasn't having it. And even I'm pretty sure from my perspective I did everything right, and you can tell me if I fucked up here. But as the story goes, you match with a girl on Tinder, she's all right. We get to talk for a few days. It seems like we have a pretty similar sense of humor, and we make arrangements to meet up. My plans sort of changed at the last minute because a friend of mine who I haven't seen in a very long time was in town, and we were going to go hang out that night. I said, hey, we're actually on our way to the casino right now. We were just going to go hang out at the casino. And I said, well, to be honest, like I'm not planning on staying there for too long. If you want to come back after, like we can come, it's a little late to do anything right now, but I'm free the rest of the night. If you want to just come hang out, we can just watch, movies and just talk. And she's like, oh, that sounds great. And I said, awesome. Like, and I just want you to know, like, I don't know what your experience has been on Tinder before, but like, obviously I'm not expecting anything right off the bat. Like, if you really just want to just talk and hang out, like, I'm totally cool with it. And she goes, why would you say that? I'm like, because I'm being honest. Like, I don't want you to think I'm like just trying to, have sex with you. And she's like, well, now I do, now that you said that. I'm like, that's not what I meant. Like, I'm trying to be open and transparent, and I'm trying to, like, as I'm hanging out with my friends, like, do damage control here. And I thought I totally fucked it up. But then, like, the next 3 days, she kept saying, like, hey, like, how are you? How's it going? I'm like, oh, okay, maybe it was just, like, an overreaction at the time. Like, maybe I said something and now we're cool. So a few days go by and we actually make plans to hang out. I say we make plans. I say, I'm free today. And she says, I'm free today. So I say, okay. And throughout most of the day, I'm throwing ideas at her. I say, you know what? The weather's great. Let's go to the zoo today. She's like, I don't want to go to the zoo. It's too far away. I'm just, well, there's a couple of movies playing in the theaters I want to see around. You want to go? I don't want to go to the movies right now. Well, why don't we just go get like some dinner and we'll talk. I just ate. I can't go to dinner right now. It's just idea after idea after idea. Just everything that we could be doing. And I'm like, you want to just come over here and just hang out? She's like, no, I don't want to do that. But finally, we settled on like, I was like, all right, here's what we can do. Why don't you come here to my place? We'll talk and we'll meet here, and then we'll make plans to go somewhere else. Because this is like, I can't do this over text, like unless I know, like it would be much easier if you were here and we were talking in person. Yeah. I shoot her my address, and then like 3 hours go by and she's not here. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, even after she said like, okay, yeah, sure. I said, are you coming? Like, are we still on for today? She's like, well, you didn't make any plans, and you're the guy. You're supposed to make the plans. I just said, fuck this. And I just blocked her and unmatched like right away. I'm like, I am not, like, are you kidding me? I had 100 things for us to do today that I would have paid for all of them. But the thing about the date is like, it's not even necessarily the thing. It's like, it's the chance for us to meet and interact with each other. Who cares what the movie is? Who cares where we go to eat? Who cares what we do? The fact is, we're meeting each other and we're talking and we're having a good time at a mutual public place.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part. And she's just, no. But you also have to make all the plans, and I'm not coming unless you make the plans for us. So I just said, nope, not happening.
Well,
Fuck that.
I'm trying to think if I think I've blocked out all the bad first dates I've had in my mind. There was one, I didn't meet her through a dating app or anything. It was a long time ago. In fact, when I was working in the posh supermarket, there was a girl who I didn't know, because most of the people that got jobs there I knew from school or...
First, Mrs. R, I understand your point. I think, not literally, but I definitely understand your point. Sorry I interrupted you. Go on.
That's all right. But there was a girl who started working there who I didn't know, and I thought she was very attractive. She was kind of olive-skinned, dark bobbed hair. I was like, oh, she's very nice. And so I said, do you want to go on a date? And she was like, yeah, that's cool. And so I took her to like this kind of quiet, really quiet small village with a really nice picturesque pub, and took her there for lunch. Or, well, we didn't actually end up having lunch there, because we went there and we had like one drink, and she was like, can we go to McDonald's? I was like,
hell yeah, chicken tendies on the house.
I was like, well, yeah. The thing is, we sat there and she was on her phone the whole time, and like, it was just like, that's really rude. And so then we went to McDonald's.
Well, maybe she's like, I am not as into you as I thought I was. I don't want you to waste all your time and money. Like, let's just get this over with. But I also definitely want to get some food out of this. So,
well, yeah. So, we went to McDonald's and like we had something to eat, and then she was like, can you drop me off at this guy's house? I'm like, okay. I was like, who is this guy? I didn't say that or anything, but I was like, okay, fine. And I dropped her off, and I was like, okay, well, that was shit. I won't speak to her again. And like a week later, a mate came up to me and was like, Michelle wants to know why you haven't messaged her since you went out on a date. And I was like,
what?
I was like, because she sat on her phone the whole time, didn't seem interested, asked to go to McDonald's, and then got me to drop her off at another guy's house. And her mate was like, oh, right.
Oh yeah, that. Oh yeah, the whole general experience. Like, some people have such little self-awareness. You know?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And then she's like upset that I didn't message her again. It's like, well, you showed no interest whatsoever on our date, and then you're confused as to why I've not messaged you again. But there you go. Yes, I play golf. I'm not very good at golf, but I do play very occasionally. I can't afford to be a member of a club, but my dad is, so I play with up at his club occasionally. However, his club might be closing down soon, which is a bit of a shame. But I bet you like hitting balls, Marie. But no, I mean, there's nothing more satisfying than actually getting a sweet hit. A sweet drive when the
I play a bit of Wii golf back in the day.
It's not quite the same. In fact, I used
to... bullshit. It's much harder.
In the view you can see in the picture, just off to the right, there's kind of like a little sort of picnic area. And what I used to do was take my clubs, or well, a couple of clubs over there, and my dad like had a whole bunch of surplus golf balls. I used them all up in the end, but I just used to smack them out into the water. So that was kind of, it was like chav golf. I used to put the tee in the slots between the picnic table, and then stand on the picnic table itself and hit the balls as far across the water as I could.
Innovative.
It was fun. I used to take a beer and
truly the next Tiger Woods.
I used to have a beer with me and stand there hitting golf balls.
They call you Tiger Wooden Table.
I must have looked like such a chav. I think I got the idea from Kenny Powers in Eastbound and Down, to be honest.
I'm interested. You said there's a Trump course near you. Has anybody ever been to a Trump property, a Trump hotel, golf course? I imagine they look nice.
Oh, he owns...
From what I've seen, but like, I'd love to know people's like real personal experience there. Huh.
Yeah, he owns...
like, everybody shits on Trump Tower. Like, it's probably like not bad, but you know, it's not like he's directly involved in it. It's just a hotel, you know, or whatever it is. It's a big old building. Church going man.
The first Mrs. R, a blind date with a church going man. That sounds like a soul song. Like, I'm a church-going man. Is it? Yes. But no,
Well,
is
I'm
it Glen
interested to see where this
Eagles?
goes. Yeah.
I'm not sure which golf course it is. Trump owns one of the golf courses here in Scotland.
Yeah.
But I don't know which one it is.
Dude loves his golf.
Yeah. Right, I think I'm getting a little bit tired and flagging a little bit now. I've been getting up early recently. I've started going to the gym.
Is that the name of the gay bar in town?
I've been going to the gym. He's the man that I put myself inside. No, I'm benching, bro. I'm just trying to get ripped, or not ripped.
Wait, first Mrs. R. Everything was great until he brought me home. We were chatting, and out of the blue, he begins to tell me how much he loves to masturbate, and asked me if I do too. Well, that's just something that goes without saying. Like, who hates to masturbate?
God, I hate masturbation.
I just hate that I have to do this.
Why am I doing this to myself? God, I hate ejaculating. That's the worst thing you can do.
Oh my God!
I don't know why I keep doing it.
But yeah, on a first date, that's interesting. Maybe she's implying that he's a virgin and like that is the only exposure to sex he's ever had. And he's like, this is the greatest fucking thing in the world. I bet everybody loves this.
Yes,
like, I have to tell someone about this.
Maybe he just had his first wank that day. It's like, have you ever masturbated before? It's fucking hell. I never realised I could do it alone.
In the news? You can touch yourself and make yourself orgasm. Who knew, huh? Yeah.
Or maybe as a church-going man, Mrs. R, he was trying to imply that he wasn't up for sex before marriage, but nothing wrong with a bit of mutual masturbation. I see what you're saying.
Like, what's an even like weirder thing to say on a first date than that? But it's like it's an obvious thing that's creepy at the same time.
A lot of people say to me, "Get out of my garden."
Hey, you in the bushes, yeah. It's like, hey, I don't know if you are on the same page, but I like sex. I don't know if you've had it before, but man, wow.
I don't know if you've had sex, but I had it. I had it for the first time last week, and geez, that was something. For
me, sex is a big turn on.
What's your ultimate fantasy?
Know about you.
Sex.
I don't know about you, but when I orgasm, it feels really good.
Yeah.
You ever have? I might be the only one here, but when somebody touches my penis, I fucking lose it.
Wow.
It's weird because there was nothing in the date that would have ever thought it was. Oh yeah. Oh, did you see the new Marvel movie? I really liked it. I really enjoyed. I love masturbation. It is a top hobby of mine.
Yes, yeah. So what's your hobbies? Well, masturbation.
His hobby is taking pictures of himself masturbating.
So this is like your calling card, is it?
Yeah. Now, why would you think that's appropriate? It's not.
It's not. All
right, it's bedtime for Adam, so
we gotta say goodnight. I got to get up and go to the gym in the morning. Andy and I are planning another trip to Cyprus at the end of August or sometime.
So you gotta be jacked.
So this time I'll be on the beach a lot more because it'll be more beachy weather and. No, it's not just that. I don't know. I kind of despise those people that go on and on about going to the gym like there's nothing else in their lives. But there's nothing else in my life right now. You gotta be there
every morning, every afternoon. Like, you look fantastic. Like, take a day off. For God's sake.
No, I mean, I've got a lot of work to do before it gets to that point. I mean, the part I like the most, I've been trying to do some weights and stuff, but I like going swimming most afterwards. Um, and I can't. When we were in Cyprus, we did a lot of quad biking, and I started to get a bit of muscle. And I was like, I quite like having some muscle. And also, and Andy works out quite a lot, and I don't want to be like next to him like some slovenly person next time. So by the time we go back, I'm going to have a six pack and abs and such is the plan.
Notorious morbidly obese YouTuber Adam goes to the gym.
No, I mean I've always been.
Just get the surgery, man. Come on.
I'll just get like a one of those suits, one of those body suits like George Michael in Arrested Development.
Yes.
And just wear that around, like banging bod, bro. Yeah, thanks.
Or on your vacation, wear a fat suit for like 4 out of the 5 days, and then on the 5th day, shed it, and people are like, "Holy shit, that dude lost 60 pounds in one day."
Yeah, no, I mean I like swimming the best, which is I actually enjoy swimming, but I need to. I'm trying to get into kind of a regime now that I'm keeping myself in good shape. Healthy body, healthy mind. There's not much going on for me up here in Scotland. So again, so I am becoming one of those people that's got nothing else going on in their lives, so they fill it up with going to the gym.
I mean, that's better than most things. So
Chronic masturbation, yeah. Well,
yeah. Which in itself is a bit of a workout.
It is, but I mean, my wrist is plenty strong already. It's the
got
rest
that
of my
carpal
body.
tunnel. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I need to get one of those arthritic bracelets now. In fact, this probably explains why my right arm is so much stronger than my left. But anyway, but yes, so I must go to bed because I'm trying to get up early and go to the gym before I start working in the afternoon, and then there'll be a scam baiting stream tomorrow evening, and then I might even, hopefully not treading on other people's scam baiters' toes, but I'm planning to do maybe a whole week of streaming because I've been really lax, and also I looked at my YouTube revenue and it's really
Do you have
down.
is one of your channels monetized yet?
Yeah, my scam baiting channel's been monetized for a long time.
So, is there a way for people to donate to your channel?
You can through the super chats thing. Yeah, YouTube takes 30% of it.
Here's the incentive, and here's the pledge. If in 1 month you can lose 10 pounds,
okay,
everybody in the chat donates $10.
All right, that's fair. I mean, I'm not really going to the gym to lose weight, as to turn the fat into muscle.
Or like say that you can lift more than you can right now.
Okay, tomorrow
I'll find out the challenge. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good idea. Tomorrow I'll find out what I can lift, and then in 1 month I'll see if I can lift double. Because in fact, what I should probably do is pull-ups because I'm useless at pull-ups. I can do like 5, and that's
about the one thing I can do. Yeah, and planks. I'm good at planks. I've got this beer gut forming, and I've got a brother. I've got 2 brothers who is a baseball player, and the other one is a personal fitness, trainer. Yeah, personal trainer. And he goes to the gym all the time. But they're my 2 younger brothers. And every now and then when we're all together, I say, all right, throw down then. Let's see who can plank the longest. And every time I win, just out of sheer mental will that I cannot let my younger brothers beat me, who are in much better physical shape than I am. But I will literally pass out before I let any of them beat me. And then I don't move for like 3 days after, just because I try to prove a point. But if that's not incentive, then, I don't know what is. And then that's my workout for the year.
Isn't planking is just like kind of lying there, though, isn't
it? Yeah, but it's like a race against time, and it's like you start to shake, and you're like, oh, I can't do it. And then it collapses, right? But I'm like, I never collapse.
Is it like when we used to do our kickboxing exercises and you had to like keep your ankles 6 inches off the floor while lying flat, which is actually a lot harder than it sounds.
Sucks. Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah. Linda, for a big enough donation, I'm sure Speedo pics can be arranged. I actually own Speedos, but they're proper swimming shorts. They're not little budgie smugglers. They're proper swimming shorts.
I'm serious though. Tomorrow, figure out what you can lift and put a reasonable goal. Like 1 month, if I can lift 25 pounds more.
All right.
Healthily.
I accept your challenge, sir.
Okay, and if you can't, then you owe me $1,000.
All right, cool. Not that bit. Not that. I'm not agreeing to that. I don't have $1,000.
Well, I already have it on record that you said okay.
I wasn't thinking. I was just.
Sorry, we gotta go, guys. Cut the stream short. Bye.
But yeah, so on that note, thanks for joining me, Dan. I hope you guys in the chat have enjoyed yourselves. Go back and listen to the beginning if you haven't heard this. It was quite an interesting and deep conversation that got a little bit dark and then a bit more lighthearted with Dan talking about movies and such later on. So it's been fun. So yeah, thanks for joining me, Dan. And thanks.
I'm the comic relief.
Exactly. And thanks everyone in the chat. I will see you all very soon. Bye.
Bye.